Go. Hello, LLA ladies and gentlemen. My name is Recollect, and I'm joined by the lovely Black Boxer here for a little bit more League of Legends action here in playoffs. Very excited to witness this game between Estral Esports and Team Ace. Now, a matchup we have seen before here in the LLA quite a few times, and very pivotal matchup here from the opening split.
Oh yeah, if you're looking at the two giants of this league, definitely these two, Estral and Team Ace. They were the finalists last time around. We sent Team Ace over to MSI as our representatives. And so, these are big teams, big names. And if you were expecting a set of teams to come up against each other, maybe in the finals, it was definitely going to be these two.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not just a case of here in the LLA that these guys have history. They had some history before in the DDH, which is the region just below this, sort of our minor region that we can lead up into. These teams were scrapping it out at the top, and I believe Team Ace were the ones that were able to come out on top in the end. But obviously, both of them here now and excited to play a lot of games against each other with a big matchup on the line as we are in that upper bracket of playoffs.
Oh yeah, it means that you are able to fall down. If you lose one game here, it's not all done. It's not like yesterday's series where if you lose, you are finished for the year. You can still get knocked down, then you will go on to play our winner from yesterday in Infinity. So, you still have more chances, but this is definitely about pride as well as keeping that momentum going throughout the rest of this tournament. If you're looking to take the title, you have got to be at the top and you've got to be fighting for these places, and dropping down, going through losers bracket is never a good start.
Yeah, but what we are in the start of is this champ select. The Ahri, the Gwen, the Zeri, and the Azir all gone. It makes sense. Alone has played a ton of this Ahri and the Gwen pick. So strong at the moment.
It really is. It's definitely things we've seen a lot of. The Wukong coming off of the board, especially interesting. Seen a lot of it in the jungle, and we are just flying through this pick ban phase. You're going to see the Aphelios and the Silas picked up right here for Team Ace.
Yeah, absolutely. That totally is something that we've seen a ton of in the last series, right? It was piloted so well yesterday by both mid laners playing. So it makes sense to see it off. I mean, Cody had a fantastic game on it. We've also got this Silas as a counter pick. Makes a lot of sense, has risen in priority. And with the Aphelios locked in, you have to feel like the AD carry will be picked up here for Estral, and they do. They go with the Sivir and the Yone. Look at this dive-based sort of mid laner coming into the potential Silas mid.
Yeah, Miri, going to pick this one up for themselves and just can ruin the Silas's day, get on top of them, deal a lot of damage, does give over a pretty good ultimate, so we'll see what the response is going to be. And if it is indeed this Lee Sin, that's a more aggressive jungler than we've been used to seeing. We saw a lot of the Wukong, a lot of the Xin Zhao yesterday, but the Lee Sin, a premier pick when you're looking to get ahead in the early game, and it is definitely necessary when you've got yourself an Aphelios and a Silas, two picks who need to scale into the late game. You don't want to have a jungler who also needs to scale because you will not be able to be proactive on the map.
I do wonder a bit about this Lee Sin into Talia matchup, though. With the change that came through to Talia, right, you can now set up your rocks to stun the Lee Sin if he ever tries to take that resonating strike onto you. I think that there is a bit more nuance than there used to be in the matchup. So I'm excited to see how well Dimitri is able to pilot that Lee Sin to success in this particular matchup. And On subject of matchups, Yumi and Renata, both supports already banned away. It's going to make things a bit harder here for Shadow.
Yeah, Shadow's definitely going to have to dig deep into this champion pool. The Tahm Kench can also be a support pickup, something they have played before as well. And so just need to be a little bit careful, see if you have enough of a pool in order to draw from. We'll see what this final ban is here. And I mean, if you're over on the side of Team Ace and you are straight, you are not in any way threatened by all of these bans going down into the bot lane. You know, you have a massive champion ocean.
Sorry, I was just thinking of that. What a fantastic tattoo that is. That's brilliant.
Very, very fun.
I'm just wondering, actually, I'm looking at these champions and my mind is going towards Thresh. I'm seeing
Yeah.
Aphelios. I'm thinking Aphelios Thresh as a combo. I'm also thinking about Seraphine. Both of these champions very potentially strong that can be paired with their AD carries respectively, but Rakan is instead that premier, something that we have seen rise to prominence a little bit with some of these pairings. Doesn't offer as much protection, but does have that reliable engage and that gap closing potential.
Yeah, especially when you're pairing up with a Lee Sin and a Silas who both like going flying in using that E. You can jump along for the ride. This is going to be the Nautilus response, can definitely ruin a Rakan's day. And you're seeing a few different supports hovered right now. You're expecting this to be a top laner though.
Yeah, definitely expecting. I think this is more for the fun of things, right?
Yes.
Unless we're pivoting things like the Talia mid, the Yone top, and then looking for like some sort of jungle route, which is obviously something we can explore. And with the Sejuani, you do hide things a little bit, but it is likely just going to be that top lane pick. And if you want
There we
safety and
go.
scaling, which is something we saw was king yesterday, Ornn is your man.
Ornn is absolutely going to give you a lot of that late game scaling, as you say, through those ornaments, as well as just being a good tanky frontline, loves to be paired up with the Nautilus. It means that your opposition probably cannot move, but Ornn gives a pretty free lane, and somebody that loves to take advantage of that would be the Gangplank. See if that's
Nara
going
is
to be
also
the
open.
true. Gnar has been a premier pick and something that Lonely has played a lot of during the regular season, 4 times, but no, instead it is going to be this Aatrox. We've not seen this before out of Lonely, and that's a pretty interesting matchup in the top lane.
So normally, in professional play, we get a lot of complaints, shall we say, from many analysts about, Aatrox bad copium. But there are some situations where this champ is really strong, and specifically, it's when the composition lacks range, and you can get a lot of value out of his, AOE abilities to heal and lifesteal and become kind of a similar idea as like a more bruisey Swain, if that makes sense. You know, you just
Yes.
try and survive the fights and be annoying. And this is a composition which does, potentially play into that. You know, realistically, your highest range is that Talia, maybe that Sivir too. But apart from that, everyone else is melee. So there is some value, as well as you being able to play that on lane very effectively. So maybe that's the concept here that's coming into play. My only worry is that I think you're quite, reliant upon Rakan as your engage tool because of that.
Yeah, you need to be very, very careful if you are relying on an Aatrox going flying in because the Aatrox is pretty squishy if you can kite them out. That is the big issue for an Aatrox in all situations, pretty much. You get them on the run, they're having to chase you down, and all of a sudden they're on a back pedal. But if we take a look at both of these compositions, just interesting the way that one team has gone quite heavy on the scaling, but actually both teams are going to be okay if if this game goes later.
They definitely do have that late game potential, and I'm uh, interested, shall we say, to see who will be the more proactive because it's something that we do often lack in. And on the subject of lacking, we are lacking the right screen because we need to be in game. Because right now we're getting onto Summoner's Rift here for game number 1 of this series between Estral Esports and Team Ace.
And we're getting into this one. We will see who comes out on top. This is a best of 5 between these two teams. The winner stays in the upper bracket. The loser will be in the lower bracket. And, well,
It's
if
a
this
pause angle.
isn't.
Never
Yeah,
mind. I'm actually just a genius. You know, I was aware that there was going to be a pause
yeah,
4 seconds into the broadcast because
obviously.
it's not playoffs if something doesn't go wrong. That's just how it is. I'm guessing that there's some sort of issue with I imagine runes. That's usually what these pauses this early on
Yeah.
indicates. It means that someone didn't press
Who
save, and
took.
yeah,
Who
it's
took the aftershock?
aftershock
Hopefully
Talia is pretty
nobody.
broken. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's very
Getting that
strong.
insta respawn. What
Hmm.
else could you want, you know?
Yeah.
Seems a little bit broken, to be honest, but we'll
Oh,
see.
so I imagine that it is something along those lines. We will have to wait and see. Obviously, it will get information out as best as we can, but I can't make any promises, as it will probably take quite a while for us to know what's happening, if at all. So, in the meantime, we've got a second to discuss the pick ban phase. So,
Yeah.
were there any champions that sort of jumped out at you as being uh, the big carries, shall we say, within this one?
If the Aatrox gets ahead, that certainly can be a way forwards, but the thing is, with this kind of composition is you're up against an Ornn. Against the Ornn should be able to sit back, relax, be pretty chill, not actually be in a situation where they have to try, be the big carry. And so this top lane should be a little bit frozen out. Where I'm really interested is down in this bottom lane. The Sivir and the Aphelios both want to sit back and farm, but I don't see them being allowed to when these junglers do want to be proactive, and these mid laners both enjoy roaming.
Hmm. I think the big part of this match is going to be that level 6 mark, right? We have
Yeah.
this Talia with the Weaver's Wall, which we saw be so effective yesterday. We have this Yone who can use that Fate seal to just dash into the backline and be a hindrance to these sort of longer range carries with that lack mobility, like this Aphelios. I'm really keeping my eyes on Boogie and Miru, who have had such fantastic splits together. I mean, looking at the stats for these guys, they are off the charts.
Yeah, they have been playing fantastically together the entire time, and really you can see their synergy as a little bit of an engage down here. We're not expecting any big kills to go down during the early game. If we're taking a look at where there may actually be solo kills, perhaps the mid lane is more where we should focus.
Yeah, Alone and Miru, two guys that have really sort of shown up for their teams over the course of the split, have looked relatively okay. I would say that Alone maybe has been the weaker of the two, as Five Gibbs had to really carry in those damage graphs as the games went later and later. But
Yeah.
I think it means that the guy really has to step up in this series. You're going to have to match Miru, who has had very good laning, has looked really strong, and is part of the reason why Estral is that first place team. Right? They look solid, they look consistent, and when they want to be aggressive, they're almost always correct in the way they play their situations.
And if you're looking to be aggressive, what better champion than the Yone, especially with the Ignite that has been taken? You can get up in the face of your opposition. You can see Alone chunked out, having to sit back away from this farm, just having to look at trying to get the XP over anything else. And this Yone is going to be oppressive throughout the entire game. Even when Yone falls behind, will still be able to do quite well for themselves, especially once that Immortal Shield bow comes through. So much healing.
Yeah, and I like the attempt here from Estral Esports. They try a blue side clear here from Boogie into that bottom side gank through the lane. Unfortunately, the hook does go wide there for Shadow, and there's no real follow-up, which means that now you're falling a bit behind, because Dimitri will be able to clear that Gromp, clear those Wolves. Maybe you then path towards that top crab, and we might see an invade angle come through here from Team A's, and off the back of that, it could be a chance for Lee to snowball, but smartly enough, Buki takes that bot crab, immediately paths to take that top crab to get the double crab angle, and maybe now can path into the top side. So Boogie is actually going to be a little bit ahead of Dimitri if those caps do go down. So great pathing adjustment here from Estral.
And this is what you need to see. And this is all allowed because Miru has got themselves ahead in this middle lane. With that push, you're allowed to roam through the mid lane. If all of a sudden Alone is pushed up to the opposition tower, you can't walk straight through. You can't just go for that double scuttle. And you will be falling behind because you've wasted that time trying to go down towards that bottom lane gank. But as it stands, like you said, Boogie in a nice spot and will be able to continue sitting around trying to farm up. And I'm just interested in looking for this Weaver's Wall once the Talia hits 6, because we saw just how devastating it could be in the last game.
Interesting again here, though, with Boogie. Didn't like to take that top side, so has just left it up, instead going for those leveled up Raptors. So a little bit of a pathing adaptation, I guess, coming through here from the Talia. I'm not really sure about that one. I feel like it would have been better to clear it instead. Now we're going to path to that top side to be ready for this potential counter gank in a moment, assuming the Krogs will take him first. So it is actually going to be late, but doesn't matter. Aze playing it smart enough, is playing back on that Ornn, and honestly has done a really good job in this lane. Going to be up in CS after this wave, has been bullying Lonely enough that they were able to get a cheetah recall too, to come back with that Bramble Vest, which into someone who heals so much like Aatrox, it's a massive buy.
Was that a cheetah recall, or was that just a Ornn building items in lane?
That's a good point.
I don't remember watching.
That is a good point. I assume cheetah, but clearly you know more about Ornn than I do. You're right. There's a very likelihood that actually was just a buy and a shop and bop kind of angle. So
And
my
what else
bad on
could
that.
you love? You know, this is the power of the Ornn during the laning phase. He does a decent amount of damage, and AZ is playing him very well, but you're just able to build yourself the exact correct counter items whenever you need them, and already having that anti-heal means that all of a sudden this Aatrox does a lot less, and this Aatrox was picked into the Ornn. You knew this was coming, and so just an interesting decision right here. You need to see the Aatrox getting snowballed up a little bit, but not necessarily off of solo kills on the Ornn.
Yeah, to me, I think the game will really start to snowball when these junglers start moving towards this dragon, right? Because this bottom side is being cleared by both junglers. Mid laners are starting to hit that level 6 mark that we mentioned. And with a neutral up, you have to feel like the only choice available is going to either be violence or sunbathing. We will see
Yep.
which one is going to happen, as currently the weather over there looking really nice in the Liga Latina America. So who knows? We might get a bit of a sunbathing angle.
This could possibly be a lane gank if this kid walks up too far. 5 kid needs to be careful. This is a lot of time being wasted right now if this gank doesn't end up working out.
And it
No.
doesn't. Unfortunate again here for the side of Boogie. Was looking for it, and with that information now, Dimitri happily going to take that crab. Might look mid, but there's a pink ward. Miru will see them coming.
And Miru should not die here, but still playing aggressive, is happy to go in.
Okay, Miru doesn't care. Fate Sealed goes in, and just going to pop Dimitri a little bit. Does use that Ignite, so just a bit of a small trading pattern, I guess, from the Yone. Potentially that chunk can now mean that you can start this dragon a bit more safely, but perhaps over-aggressive, shall we say, from the Estral mid lane.
Possibly, but in a situation where you see the enemy jungler, you see your mid laner around, and you're just like, yeah, no, I can go in. I like the confidence, and clearly it was warranted. There was no situation right there where he was going to die. Perfectly happy to go forwards, and just showing why Miru is definitely the player to watch over on the Estral lineup. And you said, hey, this might open up a little bit of an opportunity to get a Drake. Yeah, no. We learned yesterday that this region does not like the Drake. They are perfectly happy to leave it up and available for about as long as possible. We saw them surviving till 15, 16 minutes or so yesterday, so keep an eye on the timer right here. How long will this Ocean Drake live?
Yeah, if if the job of a team is to take dragons and stack stole, you could call this region LLAZ, as Shadow now getting engaged a little bit there by Straight. Chunk gonna come through, but Straight just gonna jump back out, and it's just a trade of support HP for support HP.
Nothing too interesting going on down in this bottom lane right now. The 6s are going to be ticked relatively soon, and that's when this is going to get a little bit more interesting. All of a sudden, you're going to have the ability as the Rakan to really get in the opposition's face, but also the Aphelios is very squishy and also not mobile at all, meaning that as soon as you use that depth charge, you can just guarantee a knock-up and at least blowing a few summoner spells out of 5kid.
Yep, and as soon as that does obviously come through, we maybe get to see some sort of counter gank come through, or some sort of team-based play towards it. As right now, the first team-based play of the game is Herald being started up 8 minutes. Estral here early, but Team A's not really on the same ballpark. They're not really in the same tempo. They decide they're not going to give it, and now Dimitri going to try and move down towards that dragon area, but it's a bit slow. I feel like Estral might be able to match it.
Definitely can if they want to, especially when you're against a Talia, where that Weaver's Wall can just be used as extra speedy engage / disengage.
But look
And
at
for the
Buki in the
minute,
top
everything
side.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's looking. They've got Call of the Forge God. It is going to get popped here. Lonely, nice flash to avoid it. And Estral, they're going to make the first proper gank come through of the game here, 9 minutes in.
There we go. We see the response is going to be the Drake Spawn. As soon as you see the jungler up in the top side, it's definitely up and available. And it looks like there's going to be no response. Estral happy to just sit back, relax, allow this Drake to go over. And so first Drake into the back pocket of Team Ace. Only about 9.5 minutes into the game. Practically early for this region.
Practically early for this region. Oh no. I feel like I agree with you, but I am a bit worried if this is the speed, shall we say, of objective taking when we do come into the world sort of format. But maybe we'll see a little bit more tempo when we get to that international event stage. As right now, Estral, they're giving themselves a very small advantage, that 400 gold lead in their favor, and it is kind of where you would expect it to be, right? It's towards that sort of jungle position where Boogie playing up very well, and whilst Dimitri has been a very strong player for Team A's, when you're playing against arguably the best jungler in the region, it's always going to be tough.
It is definitely, and you just need to keep up the tempo as an entire team rather than just relying on your jungler. Dimitri's still great, but Boogie has been playing fantastically throughout the entire split, as you said. And if you can keep your whole team on the same page, you won't get out jungled. And for the minute, picking yourself up that Drake, it's a good start. Not found any real ganks, which is a bit worrying when you're on the Lee Sin, who definitely is a ganking jungler, needs to find those leads in the early game or can fall off a little bit, especially compared to a Talia.
It definitely can. Becomes a bit of like a late game kickbot, I think. As ganking coming through, 5kid. Oh, the CC chain is beautiful. That Rubbled Earth doesn't quite land with the seismic shove, but it doesn't matter. First blood, they're going down for Boogie. And it's time to start partying if you're on the side of Estral.
That is a great gank. You can see the use of the Weaver's Wall being able to get in from the Krugs. No need to set up your ganks. Slowly but surely can just go flying in. And that's the issue with having an Aphelios. Blew both summoners and still only able to die.
It is definitely a shame if you are that Aphelios, but it's also just the power of Nautilus, right? The ability to land that depth charge, which is unavoidable if you're at range. And then you can quite easily combo the hook, the passive auto attack comes through as well, and then that's more than enough time for a Talia who is within the same sort of area of the map, shall we say, to combo off of. So it makes sense as to why that is so difficult to play around here for 5kid, and I think it's smart that Shadow did elect to go for that pick, as mid lane now, Miro just looking for everything. Alone gets popped, will survive, I think, thanks to a little bit of the damage not being enough, and nice trade there from Miro. It's going to chunk Alone out of the lane again.
That was a really nice engage, and you can see if that cannon minion had decided to take just a couple more pot shots at Alone, would have died. Still though, it's plenty of aggression, and you're going to get him off of the tower, can take yourself a couple of turret plates, use that shadow form to then jump back and away, and there you go, that's the teleport blown as well.
Yeah, and crucially, that's going to be a teleport blown just before, we're hitting that 14-minute mark. We're 12 minutes in. We can then start to see those more combo or tempo-based teleports where you try to look for flanks, you try to look for assassination plays, and now that's not a chance. And with these members moving towards mid, Alone might be in trouble again. This time, though, there's counter and help.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, here it comes. Alone's going to get engaged on, but is going to have a little bit of depth charge action themselves. Try to turn around. Kick comes through here for Dimitri. Looks for the Q, but gets unfortunately blocked by Boogie. It is still going to be one down, but Dimitri going to trade back off the back of it. Now Alone, CC'd under that tower. It's going to be knocked right back in. It's 2. Boogie now 3-0 on this one, and straight going to have to look for a flush away from this one. Unfortunate there for Ace.
Kindness gonna arrive as well just to bully out and take this tower, and it looked like a pretty good engage, but Dimitri had to use the kick, did not actually end up getting that kill until he was right under tower, and then a beautiful depth charge out of Shadow knocked up 3 members right under that tower, and at that point there's very little you can do. A lot of people end up getting taken out, and with that mid lane tower falling, all of a sudden you have this very strong Yone unlocked across the map.
And it was a really tough play there for Dimitri, because they wanted to go for the Sonic Wave into Dragon's Rage, but there just wasn't the angle for it, as you can see.
Yeah, Alone takes so much damage here, ends up getting hooked as well. Does have the depth charge still sitting on it, but ends up just having to use it a little bit later than they would have liked to. Right here you can see Miru surviving so much longer. Look at that triple knock-up right here. Dimitri's going to go down taking a turret shots. Alone going to take another one into the seismic shove as well. Going to go down, and what was so nearly a good play ends up turning into a little bit of a disaster for Team Ace.
Yeah, and Boogie now obviously very ahead, right? Is 3-0 on that Talia. Did get some of that plate money as well, and is itemizing quite defensively, I would say. Going that Everfrost into this sort of Seeker's Arm Guard Zonya's kind of build. So not necessarily going to take over the game, but it's going to be very, very hard to kill and provide so much utility for the rest of the carriers, as Kindless does have 1 item. The rest of the team starting to get to that 1.5 item mark too.
As the items begin to come in, we can see the path that people are going towards, as this Drake fight might get quite interesting. Teleports coming through.
Yeah.
AC is already here.
Here they come. Call the Forge God. Not going to hit anyone, though, unfortunately. So Team Ace now able to play it slowly. They do have this Aphelios with so much range, and with the Q onto the Dragon, looking for an engage, but straight just gets wiped out. There's no engage from the Rakan. How are Team Ace going to play the rest of it? 2 members go down. The third likely going to fall too. Alone is down. That Moonlight Vigil looked like it's about to hit me. I got to be careful, because Estral Esports just take 3 and a Drake for free.
That was a beautiful play right here. Oh, Miru might die on the back end, though.
Yeah,
Should go
Miru
down.
just
Yeah.
overstays and dies. 5 Kid gonna take at least something back, but Ace, that is a rough set of plays.
It really is. As oh, they need to stop losing outright here. That was a bad timing out of AZ. Dimitri still taking a decent chunk of damage. You do, however, have 2 big tanks currently chasing in, and so everybody is going to back off. We'll see the replay of what went down, but you can see just indecisiveness, and nobody on the side of Team Ace decided to actually go in. Everybody is sat around waiting. The Drake gets down so very low, but in the end, the teleport coming through, you said the Ornhorn going wide, and then it's just the snap decision right here to say, actually, let's all go in. And as soon as Straight goes in, gets stunned up, taken out. Lonely has the Depth Charge on, gets taken out as well with that Yone ultimate. And everybody is just getting cut through. And there's no true engage because it all happened one by one by one. Lemmings off a cliff rather than one concerted effort.
And crucially, that auto from Shadow to just root up the Rakan. There was no chance for the Grand Entrance to come through there for Straight.
Yeah.
Instead, just CC'd to death. And it is the one weakness of Team Ace that if they can't find that engage from their Rakan, they become very dysfunctional. You know, they rely a lot on it for consistent fights. At that point, it just becomes a bit of a scrappy mess, and that's kind of what we saw here for them.
Everything is just unfortunate as talking of unfortunate.
But the one piece of success they've had is targeting Miru, and they find it again. Another kill now going over to Team Ace. Dimitri going to pick that one up, but here comes a bit of a turnaround from Boogie. Does try to punish Straight, but doesn't find anything.
1 versus 3, unlikely to find anything as it's just over aggression right here out of Miru, going way too far forward in situations where they don't have the vision to back it up, don't have the team members to back them up. And then in that situation, when you don't know what's going to happen, well, I can probably tell you what's going to happen. Going to get collapsed upon, going to get taken down. That's the 3rd death right now for the mid laner, of Estral. And so you just need to be careful, need to sit back a little bit, wait for your team to be around, because that Yone can be so powerful during the team fights.
See, I would agree with you to play more passively, but this is a member of the Ionian Wind Squad. And what that means is we're 7 deaths away from absolutely 1v9 in the game. So Miru, semi on point, maybe needs to speed it up a little bit, but you know, what they don't need to speed up is that gold generation. They get themselves another tower in the top side thanks to Shelton Benjamin there, able to wipe that one out. And I feel as though Estral, they're taking control. They want to be aggressive again. Look at the takeaway. Goodbye, Aphelios. You just got absolutely deleted. Now Shadow potentially looking to leave a little bit of a spectral mark on Straight, but not going to find too much. Just a quick pick, and Estral are running away with it.
5Kid is having a terrible time in this game, isn't he? Every single situation where the Aphelios can get caught, the Aphelios does get caught, as we see the re-engage.
Yeah, teleport coming through here from Aze as well. Might be looking to start this one up. Does have the Call of the Forge God available, but instead just the disengage. Lonely did pop the ulti as well, so not going to be able to utilize that one for that extra bit of lifesteal in this fight. Might be an angle for Estral to engage. They look for a nice hook here from Shadow. Is able to find one. Now Call of the Forge God onto another. Straight tries to counter engage, but just dies. There's no follow-up for anyone. It's just a free play here from Estral.
Estral are looking so strong in this game. The hooks out of Shadow have been absolutely on point, constantly looking to take out Straight, which usually, hey, I'm going on the support, isn't a good idea. But when you're constantly taking out that Rakan, who's looking to go flying into your backline and set up the entire play for Team Ace, it is fantastic play. And just, it wasn't a hook meant for Straight, it was, you know, thrown at other members, but if you're landing them, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, unfortunately, if we're talking about a deck of cards, the only spades these aces have got to dig their own graves at the moment. It's 8-3 in kill score. 7k advantage now for Estral, with the Baron spawning very, very soon. And Boogie, look at that inventory. 3 items on this Talia. They are stacked.
Just going to be able to do so much damage. And with that Everfrost as well, once you get caught by the Talia, caught out by that seismic shove, you are not getting away, not going to be allowed to escape in any situation. AZ is going to need to be really careful here. Stepping up could well land in disaster as the chains do go wide, and this is a very tanky Ornn, giving us a little dance show.
Yeah, and on sort of fancy footwork, Lonely now going to have to blow that flash to escape as the Weaver's Wall. Look at Boogie, just does not care. Jumps onto Lonely, pops in Miru with a follow-up from 30 screens away, and it's an easy kill there in the bottom side. Estral are aggressive.
Yeah, they are, and Boogie especially constantly going in, constantly finding those seismic shoves, and those could be pretty hard to land. We'll see what the re-engage is going to be out of Team Ace.
Oh, Dimitri goes in, but the depth charge is on top of them. They're going to get knocked up very, very soon. They do, in fact, and Boogie going to follow up. Easy kill there. And now Straight is the one that gets hooked up. Does have the grand entrance to make a grand exit, but 5 Kid might be the focus. Unfortunately, no combo going to land here for Boogie. But look at the damage coming through regardless. Nice engage onto 1. Is looking for more. Miru now going to have to jump back. Shadow tanks it. Nice play to get the Yone out.
Oh,
But
it
the
lands.
Seismic Shout is going to come through. There's so much damage here from Boogie alone. Gets popped, and look, Call the Forge God in, Call the Forge God out. Doesn't hit anyone again. It's just
zoning.
a
It was
passerby.
zoning. It was zoning. It's fine. It's fine.
Ships
All
in the
good.
night, giving a good fright. Alone is going to have to run to escape this one. It's going to be another member falling. And look at the kill score here for Estral.
Estral are up 12-3. They're going to pick themselves up their second Drake. The Baron is up and available as well. Can just force it at this point. Any time that Team Ace are running into Estral, they are getting cut down, ran through, and the man who is making it all happen right now is Boogie. Just a ridiculous kill score, a ridiculous amount of gold in this man's back pocket, and he is making it work.
Yeah, Boogie having a fantastic game on this one. I would like to give a shout out to Shadow, though, as well.
Oh,
I feel like
yeah.
this Nautilus has found some fantastic engages. The depth charge onto Dimitri, very good there as well. But the hooks have been where it has been at. It's been that key hiccup here for the side of Estral. I wonder whether or not we will see it let through for the rest of this series. It's definitely looking like, Talia is something that we can't allow through in general. But perhaps against Estral, the Nautilus might be on the table too.
I think the possibly most impressive thing right now about Shadow's performance on the Nautilus is the fact that he hasn't nicked a single kill. Very difficult to do on those big tanky supports. Do like to steal up a couple of kills if they can do. And the fact he is 0, 0, and 10, being involved in all but 2 kills in this game so far. Just very impressive all around.
I wouldn't call it stealing. I would call it benefiting from potential income that might not be consistently available. That's the technical terminology, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Now, don't think about it too much, because it's definitely not better on the carries, but Supporterless can dish it out, and on the subject of dishing it out, look at these gold graphs. There is money in the pockets. Boogie has double Dimitri's, almost double. That's sickening. That's Boogie. That's not allowed. That's bullying at this point, and Dimitri might be about to get bullied out of their own jungle.
It's just mean, and at this point you might want to look away if you're under the age of 18. We'll see what the team can do again. A little bit of a flank going through. You do currently have Straight beneath 3 members of Estral. Need to be careful, but no, Straight has been scared, knows what happens when they go too far in, and has to back off. Just the pressure right now, 2 lanes being pushed in at once. Just unfortunate that that third bot lane is only sat at about even right now, but you can see just bouncing between the 2 waves, constantly applying pressure and getting rid of all available vision throughout the enemy jungle. It means you're going to be able to turn onto this Baron, but 1 remaining ward on the outside of the pit means that this is spotted out. We'll see what response is going to be.
Yeah, looks like we're going to be seeing a bit of collapse. Shadow there to potentially look for an engage. He's going to find a hook onto Dimitri, who gets popped. Miro over the wall now, looking for another one onto Alone. Does only get the chunk. The Baron's still being focused. Is down to 9k, gets taken away. But now Aze is going to be the sacrificial lamb. Ends up going down. The goat is going to be cooked on this one. And now Straight getting focused down. Straight going to fall very soon.
Miru?
Lonely going to get targeted. And it just feels like the pop might be enough. It's not. Miru delays the E back, and it keeps Straight alive. Unfortunate there for the Estral mid lane.
So very close to getting another kill, but I think they are perfectly happy with this one. Estral managing to pick themselves up the Baron and 1 kill, and it came off of just a beautiful play from both Boogie and Shadow, the definite MVPs of this game, to pick up Dimitri, who was sat behind the pit. You think you're pretty safe at the back of the pit, but no, the big Nautilus support is back there, gets stunned up, and then you get that seismic shove over the wall into all of that damage that the Talia is able to lay through. Watch this hook right here into that seismic shove, and then Miru comes jumping over the wall. A beautiful play, and once the jungler's dead, you can continue to just pick up the Baron and then attempt to get a few more kills, but even if you don't get any more, as is the case, you are still sitting very pretty.
And you can tell exactly why Estral picked these champions, right? They know what their recipe for success is. It's that engage from either this Nautilus or the Ornn into this Talia with the Yone flying over the top. That is their success pattern, and it's worked for them so well.
You've just got to keep going right now. If you're Estral, nothing they have done has not worked out particularly. They've only lost 4 kills, and that's mainly been on the support, stepping a not the support, that has mainly been on the top or the mid laner. And when you have a Yone going flying in, picking up those deaths, like you said, it's pretty much what you're expecting.
But with the way that the game state is now, and with the Weaver's Wall now falling down to deny that bot tower defense, you've got to wonder what it is that Team A's has to do. Is there a way for them to try and find some sort of engage, and how do they pick these key members? It's so difficult.
You've just got to find that one angle in, but you've got to find it onto the Talia right now. The Talia is the one dealing the absolute most damage, but when you've got a Nautilus
Dimitri?
around, it's so difficult.
Dimitri just absolutely
Yep.
sprinted it. My eyes hurt. That's 2 dead, and the game is done. Goodbye, teammates. What was that?
I was midway through a point. I didn't expect Dimitri to go flying into the backline, and unfortunately, because he does, this is going to be cleanup crew right now for Estral Esports. They're going to take this first game in dominant fashion and put themselves in a fantastic position to move on in this tournament, looking for the title, looking for that world spot.
Yeah, I mean, Team A's, they were the ones to win the first split. They won opening this year, but it doesn't look like they're going to be doing too much as Estral make sure they're the ones that close this game out. 1-0 here for Estral.
You can see the look of relief on the faces of Estral, happy to have that one done and over, get on to the next game, and it looked pretty one-sided the entire game.
Oh, it did. They were dominant. This
Yep.
looked like a powerful display of coordination, of control. And yes, it wasn't a fast game. It really was not as fast as we might necessarily want. A lot of the time we talk about, oh, you need to be playing for dragons, you need to be doing yada, yada, yada. And realistically, they didn't. They took it very slow. But
Yeah.
it was controlled. It wasn't like they ever gave a chance to opposition. And I think it showed the play style of Estrom, how they want to play.
Yeah, calm, collected, everything worked well. You could see the cogs in the machine working together. You could see the confidence out of Miru, in a couple of situations, too confident, but when you're backed up by a very good team, it didn't end up going wrong. And I just worry a little bit for Team Ace going into the rest of this series, because the thing is, they had a very aggressive, proactive jungler in the Lee Sin, and yet, in the hands of Dimitri, just nothing happened. There was no go in, there was no looking for the insects, other than one play that actually ended up in a 2-for-1 in the side of Estral. It didn't work out. And if you're going to pick yourself those proactive junglers, you need to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely have to make it happen. And what we're going to make happen is a quick break. So, if you want some water, go hydrate yourself. If you want some popcorn, go get it sorted. We'll give you 5 to 10 minutes. So, make sure you come back for game number 2. We'll see you very, very soon. Hello, 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 and welcome back to a very strange, shall we say, post-game sort of breakdown of how that game went. And Estral, they looked pretty good.
Yeah.
We were wondering, I think, a bit coming into this how these two teams were going to match up. Ace, a team that obviously have historically done quite well into Estral. It's
Yes.
been a bit of a flip, but this time around, Estral definitely the ones to take the upper hand.
Yeah, and Estral have shown themselves to be dominant throughout the entire split so far. They're coming into this series today 11-3, only dropping 3 games. Occasionally they falter, but for the most part, looking pretty much unbeatable. Whereas Team A is coming in a little bit weaker, but like you said, we know this team is good. They went to MSI last split. They beat out Estral in the finals last split. It went to 5 games. We expected this series to be close, but actually, during that first game, it didn't feel close at all.
And perhaps that's part of what that standings meant, right? Because obviously there is a bit of a clump, shall we say, where everyone
Yeah.
was except for Estral were kind of and obviously one of the teams is already packed away, shall we say, for the split. Uh,
Goodbye, All Knights. You
yeah,
tried.
shout out to All Knights. They squeaked their way in, but everyone else is around sort of the 8-9 win mark, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
and just Estral they're up quite a bit above that. So perhaps that's part of what we're seeing. This proactivity, this ability to make plays and really control the game is something that I was excited, shall we say, to watch in
Mm.
this one.
Yeah, we were definitely looking for a pretty close matchup between these two teams. We were expecting a lot of back and forth, this mid lane to be explosive, but actually, in the end, the Silas didn't do that much in the hands of Alone. And although Miru had a couple moments where they went too far forwards, they were, the majority of the team's deaths. I think 3 out of 4 in the end. They were still making absolutely fantastic plays. Went in 1v2 versus their opposition mid laner and jungler, came out on top, didn't actually get a kill in that situation, but still, they were doing really well for themselves. But there were no true iffy moments. There was no situation where I was like, oh, they're about to lose right here, Estral. This is where they might lose their lead. I think you've got to obviously look right here at Miru for being very flashy, also at Boogie for being incredibly good at picking up those kills. But Shadow, oh my god, that was a Nautilus performance.
And as you mentioned, the Nautilus, I think it's time for us to have a quick look through the pick band that we did see come through during that one, because there was a few things that I thought were a little bit interesting on this set. But that Nautilus pick into the Rakan, it was something that I think was glossed over. It is a good matchup
Yeah.
for the Nautilus. I didn't realize Shadow would play it that well.
Yes. Those hooks that they were landing were just incredible. Shadow was all across the map, involved in almost every single kill. At 20 minutes into the game, involved in 10 out of the 12 kills. So you can tell that this was a roaming Nautilus. And you have to pair that up with a very good AD carry as well. Kindless, didn't get particularly involved in a lot of these fights other than when they really needed to be. It was a very solid and clean, I'd say, Sivir performance where, sat back, dealing the damage you need to do, popping the ult when everybody wants to go in, but just not dying under tower, which is all you can really want when you have your Nautilus all across the map.
And that's the crucial part, by the way, about the Civic pick, I think, is the fact that you don't need to be a carry in this composition. You can be
Yeah.
an alt bot, and that's enough, right?
Yep.
You just press R, your Nautilus can run at them and throw a hook, or they can throw an R, something like this. The carry was not the Sivir, the carry was Boogie on this Talia, and you can
Oh.
see why it was first picked, why it was the priority.
Oh yeah.
It was disgusting with these combos.
It's been such a high priority pick throughout the entire league. The LLA absolutely loves it. To be honest, most major regions love it, and you can put it in lots of different positions. If you do want it in the mid lane, can go there as well. But in the jungle position, you're able to hit roams and ganks that you probably shouldn't be able to in any other champion. It's the same sort of thing as the Pantheon, where you're sat in your jungle. There's a play going on bot lane. Okay, I'm going to use that Weaver's Wall, and I'm going to get in on the play. You're never behind the tempo because you can get there in a moment's notice, and just the constant seismic shove hit hook combo was beautiful. And the seismic shove can be really difficult to land. It's quite a small skill shot. It's quite telegraphed as well. You know where it's going to be put down most of the time, but just landing it constantly onto key targets as well. Dimitri was not allowed to be alive when any objective was up.
Yeah, and it was a bit of a question mark for that Lee Sin pick, right? Was how well is it going to go into the Talia? Because if you can get on top of her,
Yeah.
great. You can absolutely just hit her with a blind monk's wrath. You can absolutely smack her about. But if you're not able to do that, you start to have issues, and it felt like that was the case here for Team A's. They had the engage, they had the CC from the side of Estral to kind of limit the playmaking of Dimitri.
Yeah, Dimitri needed to get more involved. You're against a Talia who will scale up, will do more damage than you in the late game, and you become sort of an alt bot as well on the Lee Sin, or I guess if you're really shut out of the game, as in this situation Dimitri was, a bit of a shield bot, and when you're relying on that Lee Sin shield, you are not having a good game. You need to find those proactive early plays, and we saw Dimitri just behind the ball right from the very beginning where they didn't get the double scuttle, ended up falling behind, and then never found those plays really. Looked for one pretty good play in the mid lane, actually ended up getting taken down. It wasn't a failed insec, it wasn't a bad play. It's not like we were watching this Lee Sin and going, he doesn't know how to play Lee Sin. The mechanics were good, but the decision making, it wasn't decisive enough. And on this kind of early proactive champion, it needs to be.
I think there was also a factor of how hard it was to pilot that Lee Sin pick, right? And to
Yeah.
pilot any of the engage options here for the side of teammates, because it wasn't just the Lee Sin, right? We saw Straight trying to make plays with the Rakan, but there's just so much crowd control and
Yeah.
so little options here. It was like, we can engage with one thing, we can stop you with three.
Yeah.
Best of luck. That's kind of what this game
Also,
fell down to.
Sivir has a spell shield. You
Oh,
know,
yes.
even the great champions, the Squishies, has a spell shield, has an ultimate that allows you to go flying out of the way, and also has an ultimate where they get to just leave the game, lock you out of the play. It was not a good composition to try to engage into. Maybe you needed a little bit more disengage. You needed something like the Renata. It was banned out, but something to deal with all of the engage that you knew was coming. When you see a Sivir picked, you know that the opposition is going to want to run at you. That's her whole kit. And so you could have played a little bit differently. And it just was a bad draft into what they'd seen. You know, this Aatrox, I feel like we haven't mentioned it enough. It was picked into the Ornn. You know, you knew that this was going to be the matchup. It was the final pick, and it did basically nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the reason we haven't mentioned it is because it wasn't there. The
Mm,
Aatrox was essentially non-existent for the majority of the fight. There was never any, the shy moment where
yeah.
they just hit everyone. Oh, they're all dead. Eclipse Aatrox is broken.
So,
Anything
so
like that.
good. No,
It, it,
just fizzled out from the very beginning. Didn't get a lead in lane, which you're against an Ornn who built themselves anti-heal with their first item. You know, you're not going to be able to play the game beyond that point. And you could tell, you could really see the way that they were just struggling to get anything going across the map. It would have been better to have a big tanky either engage or disengage, supportive kind of pick up in this top lane instead of something aggressive. Or if you do want to go with something aggressive, which is fine, lonely, if you want to try that on, why not? But the Aatrox, it wasn't the pick here.
Yeah, there was definitely some issues here for the Summer teammates, but that is only game one. That means that there
Yeah.
is still 2 games to go at the very least, and 1 game to give before you're at death's door, should we say, here in
Yes.
that winners bracket. So teammates, maybe they need to be a bit like me and solo queue. We scale throughout the season, and
Yep.
maybe it'll be okay. That's what I tell myself. Otherwise, we're done. Otherwise, it's rough. I'm
It's
hard
all a
stuck at that
mental
point.
game.
It's all a mental
Uh,
game, and hopefully we won't be imagining going into Champions League very soon. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you that. But for a moment, we are going to be here for a little bit longer. You get to observe our beautiful faces, and by ours I mean I mean yours. That's the
Thank
beautiful
you.
one. And then you get this,
No,
so
no, no,
you
no,
have to
no.
deal with
See,
it.
over
But
there, that's where it's at.
oh, I
Wait,
love how
you're on
you
my other
pointed.
side.
Yeah,
Over
you
there.
pointed at Twitch chat. Thanks for that. There we
Twitch
are.
chat,
I just
you're
got roasted.
beautiful.
It's okay. We love you, Twitch chat, just like we love this champ. So, like, boom, here we go. What up? We got Yang, we got Yeti, head coaches for both teams, and we got ourselves the start of the draft with several bands already coming through.
Lovely. Let's see where these picks are going to go through. Just looking instantly at that Severe again, you can tell Estral loved the way it was going, but the response is going to be that premier bot lane, something that's been coming through a massively throughout all of the regions, throughout the world. It's going to be that Lucian Nami. Tons of aggression, tons of damage. Need to be very careful if you're the Severe.
Interesting that we see this come through though, because we have seen a rise in prominence to Yumi as a matchup
Yeah.
answer, with the idea that you have a little bit more of that shielding, a little bit more HP, essentially that's effective, and you get the healing as well to come through. So it is a matchup that we've seen paired into it. You've also seen Lulu come into effect too, where you can utilize that E. You can also just polymorph the Lucian when he dashes in. So they do go for this Lucian Nami. I wonder how much they're going to be able to use it though in the 2v2. We might see Team A's maybe like to play around it with these next couple of picks.
You've got to play around it. We'll see if this is going to be another aggressive jungler. What the response will be right here. We'll see what Boogie is going to pick up for themselves. The Talia is now off the board, so looking towards this would be perfect. That's one way to deal with a very mobile carry in the Lucian. If you're able to just go in with that assault and battery, take down the Lucian, make sure they're not allowed to move. And with the polymorph as well, this Lucian, as much as they're going to try to get in and get involved, not going to be able to do so. We need some aggressive jungler right here from Dimitri. We've seen the way that in the last game they were not actually able to get in and get involved. So are you going to go scaling, or are you looking to get involved in these plays? This would certainly allow you both that late game scaling option as well as the early aggression.
So the Trundle actually has a lot of variation as well for the rest of the ban phase because so the first thing to consider about it is one, you can interrupt Vi's channel of Q with Pillar. That's one
Hmm.
thing that can be relevant in the matchup. You
Yeah.
also, I believe, win if you are in a 1v1 hitting each other. The next thing is you also limit the options here for Aze because that Ornn pick was something that came through before. Never mind, we don't think about pick ban, we just ban it anyway. I was going to
Yep.
say you can just take the stats away from the Ornn and do something along those lines, but with it banned away, maybe you're a bit more scared about the scaling of the ornaments for the rest of the team, so perhaps that's the logic there. I don't fully understand it, but I won't pretend to. Um, you also create a bit of a dynamic now where you can play pretty effectively into the options mid lane here for Miru, right? Because
Yes.
if we go towards more of these assassin sort of aggressive playstyles like the Yone that we saw before, Toronto could do pretty well into that. It's going to be pretty acceptable. You
Definitely can.
also can help punish those less mobile options, which Vi ideally isn't going to want to play with anyway. But you can limit that sort of mid lane champion pool with this trying to pick.
Yeah, you need to be careful right now if you are the side of Ace that you don't end up in another situation where your opposition's going to go flying in, and we know that they're going to want to. The Vi only wants to go in. The Sivir is an enabler of that. So you need to be able to ban yourself, pick yourself up enough mobility, enough ability to get away. Another point with the Trundle as well is that Pillar is great versus a Sivir because Sivir has a spell shield for all of your aggression, but the Pillar does not count. You are still going to be able to push them back. These would be very good ultimates to pick up on the Silas. We saw it piloted by Alone pretty decently in the last game. Didn't get too much done. And now we're going to see what are the pickups going to be. Mid lane and top lane is what we're looking for. Both going to have to be picked right now. And this is locked in. That is another champion that loves to go flying in.
And the cool thing about Sejuani as well is that you can pair it with this Vi, right? Because Vi being one of those melee sort of champions in the jungle means you can stack that passive of the frost a little bit faster, that E, to get a little bit more of those coming through. Ideally, you pair that with then another mid lane sort of solo laner, unless we
Yep.
do see Lulu mid come through and then we can pivot into something else. But that's kind of unlikely as there's a lot of options that you can run
Need some
instead
big
into
AP.
Lulu mid. So there is sort of options there, but it's not exactly ideal. Instead, we see the Vex. It's something we have seen as a matchup into Silas with the idea that the Vex ult isn't amazing for him to take away, and in isolation, you can sort of use your fear whenever he tries to jump on you and you get free sort of extra damage that way. Um, I'm not a huge fan of the champion right now, but I mean, go for it if you want to.
And this would be fantastic. It's one of Lonely's premier picks. Played it a lot during the regular season. The Gnar is going to allow you both that engage and disengage. That ultimate, fantastic at locking people down. If you compare that with the Lucian culling, you're going to be able to just blast through people. And we're in a really interesting situation where once again, Estral have decided on a composition that likes to go in, go in, go in. And on the other side, if you're looking at Team Ace, they have the ability to burst people down in that 2v2 bot lane. The mid lane matchup will be pretty spicy as well, but overall, their team fight, whilst good, may not match up quite as well versus Estral.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in how this is now going to play out moving forwards. But I also am a little bit worried, right? Because when I look at these two sort of compositions, we have seen Sejuani used as a counter to Na
Yep.
recently. Now, obviously, that's not always applicable, right? LJL, for example, we saw Ebby is happy to play the Na side and just dominates every Sejuani we've ever seen.
Yes.
But in general, it is a counter matchup. So that is sort of a self counter pick here for the side of Team A's. And when you have such a, uh, shall we say, requiring of early game success bot side composition that they have,
Yeah.
I don't know if their mid jungle is going to be strong enough for them to play through that bottom side and help to snowball the game.
It's an interesting one right here. You really need to get involved if you're Dimitri. Last game around, we did not see that. It was not a particularly good game out of them on the Lee Sin. the Lee Sin really wants to get involved in the early game and did not manage to do so very well. We'll see in this game if actually it's going to go a little bit better on the Trundle. Trundle is a very good 1v1 duelist. And so, in the situations where you're looking at those Scuttle Crabs, perhaps because that's where things began to go wrong in the last game for Dimitri, those Scuttle Crab battles are going to be a lot easier. I'm really interested to see where these junglers start. Are they going to be pathing from top side to bot side and get involved down in this bottom lane? It's definitely the way I think they should be pathing. If you're Dimitri, you want to get your Lucian Nami ahead because Lucian Nami ahead is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, it definitely is disgusting. But what will also be potentially exciting to witness is the game itself as we are getting onto the Rift. I've got to say, credit to the LLA, they have some fantastic camera work. I do enjoy these
Mm.
little scenes that they do beforehand. It's always enjoyable as we have Nami in her natural habitat of the river. So good to see. I kind of want to imagine that Nami just sort of swims down streams with fish. I mean, there's something there. There's something there. What there is though is Lonely invading here. They're going to get that vision. They might be looking to set up that vertical jungling state here for the side of Team A's.
And why wouldn't you? If you can pull that off, pick it up so you can be down on that bottom side of the map or on that top side of the map, all of a sudden you know where the opposition jungler is. So if you die during a vertical jungling stage, you have messed up because you should have known where your opposition is. And also you then have full priority on one of the lanes. Right now we can see that Estral gonna just start off with the invade, pick up a blue buff, and so will be down towards this bot side, which is kind of where you want to be. You want to be able to back up your Sivir plus Lulu combo, especially versus an oppressive bot lane. Once that Nami is able to land those bubbles, you're going to be dying pretty quickly. The Ignite as well, so definitely an aggressive bot lane, and having your jungler around just has that little extra layer of safety.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm not a big fan of what Team Ace has done here, because
No.
there's sort of two perspectives you can come from, right? You can go, okay, this is bad because if we vertical jungle now, your strong sort of bottom side that needs to get advantages in this early to mid game stage, they're not going to be able to play that way because they're going to have a vibe permanently around them. And on the flip side, this Sejuani is not really the most gankable, but Boogie might get punished for trying to contest their own camp. Finds the Trundle level 2. I feel
Miru's
the
on the
Trundle isn't
way.
unhappy. Look at the rotations coming through. Arze is here. Miru is here. It's a free kill. Dimitri ends up falling. Estral just moved faster.
That was just beautiful out of the members of Estral. They managed to collapse down, knew what was coming, and this is going to be a triple buff start right here for Boogie. Going to be able to base, pick themselves up a couple of extra items, come back and pick up their blue buff as if nothing even happened. And Dimitri started this. They went for the invade, were spotted out, knew what was going on, were allowing their their blue buff to be taken away, and still went for it.
Yeah, and the big factor is that there's a little bit
no.
of fighting in the bottom side. While I was saying that, I was going to
It's dead.
mention the potential damage that can come through across the map. And Estral, their bottom side's meant to be weaker. Well, unfortunately, that's only on paper.
Indeed. Need to be careful though. There is the possibility of a counter gank from Dimitri looking for it. Not going to back off. So, Lucian Nami with Ignite, with Cleanse as well. So you should be okay. Nope, gonna go down in the 2v2, exactly the opposite of what you want to happen. This is a scaling bot lane right here. Kindness and Shadow, they're looking to get into this late game and be strong, but they're getting things done now. As talking of,
Yeah, alone looking onto Miru. There's no mana available for the Vex, so not going to have too much damage to sort of fight back. And with both summoners being blown there from the mid lane, I have to feel like Team Ace, that was a fantastic play there for Alone, is ahead. But now Dimitri finding Boogie, looking for that crab, might be a bit greedy. But remember, there is no way Miru could really do much, so it's going to be taken away of Team Ace. Nice team play.
see the way that things are panning out quite badly for Team Ace, as this is a bit of a bait right here out of Miru stepping up, being aggressive. We saw it on the Yone last game, and we're going to see it once again right here, just being like, yeah, I have 1/8 of my health. I don't care. I am perfectly happy to step up to you right now. A little bit of help out of both the jungle and the support in order to push that lane under now can take a reset. It's a gigantic wave on the tower as well, and so Alone is not going to be able to push that out fully and take any turret plates in the time it takes for Miru to base and come back.
Yeah, and I think it's really, strange that we
Counter
are
gank.
seeing this come through. As I was already seeing things come through, Lonely going to have to flash away. It's only one proc away from the passive, and now the turnaround coming through. Nice engage from Boogie. Does get that one proc. Instead, they're going to go on to Dimitri, who's going to now get stunned up, potentially take a lot of damage. The Trundle is falling lower, but there's no re-engage. No one has flash, and no one dies.
And this is what you want when you're a Sejuani. The least favorite thing for a Sejuani is having a bunch of ranged carries around, because it means you can't proc that E passive anywhere near as quickly. Whereas that Sejuani paired up with a Vi, it's a ton of CC, ton of damage. And if the level 6s were ticked at that point in time, could well have been a kill.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit too early, unfortunately, for that to come through, but it's definitely
Bubble
could
lands?
be signs of things to come in the future, shall we say, as Estral, they're making things happen early. There's a bit of that damage back from 5kid, who has so far been a little bit quiet, is farming relatively okay, relatively even, but on this Lucian pick really needs to show some of that proactivity, some of that strength in these early stages. They need to bring things around for the team, as right now, looking across the board, it's not looking great for teammates.
No, we wanted to see them get ahead, and for the minute, it is just a little bit of a deficit. Nothing too bad right now. You can see for the levels, it's just pretty even. Nobody's fallen too far behind. Dimitri is the only one who's actually not having a particularly good game, has died, and we wanted to see a little bit more early aggression, but they are trying with the ganks. This is what we asked for. We were asking for attempted ganks around the map. Is going to send the Vex running, and more aggression down in the bottom lane. Ping's
Yeah,
going down.
trading angle, and now Miru is trying to head for the hills, but Alone is just going to chase them down, utilizes the ulti to try and close the gap, gets a reset, might look for it onto Boogie, flashes away, Boogie has no flash to follow, the re-engage,
Goes
Alone
back!
finds absolutely everything!
Oh!
It's a double there for Dimitri! Team Ace, where did that come from?
That was so aggressive and so well played, as, oh, this might be another kill.
Oh, you get what you want, you might lose it all though, straight, shows a nice hand back to escape
Dimitri?
that one. Dimitri might look for more. They can try and dive, but the polymorph is available for Shadow. They put the brakes on, but my word, it's a great string of plays there for Team Ace.
It is, and this is what we wanted. We want to see them get back in, and I thought, hey, we knew Miro was on the run, having to find their way out of the mid lane, but they seem to have enough of a lead that they would be able to just walk that one out. It ends up getting chased all the way down, and it's just a nice play. Dimitri getting involved, getting themselves 2 kills right there, which is just beautiful. And you saw the attempted re-engage by Boogie to get back in, get involved, see if they could pick up a return kill, but absolutely nothing having it. And all of a sudden, what was a tiny lead in the favor of Estral has evened right back up.
Yeah, well, maybe not. Aze is just better. Look at the Sejuani. That's we're not having boar for dinner. We're taking gremlins. Tasty solo kill there for Aze, and Lonely is gonna have to be lonely in the fountain for a little while.
I have serious questions now about the champion pool of Lonely. This is 2 times they've been given the counter pick, and 2 times that they have ended up losing in their lane matchup. You cannot allow that to happen. You knew you were against the Sejuani. You went with the Gnar. Getting solo killed there is just devastating. This Gnar needs to be at least even to be useful in fights, and Sejuani can be absolutely oppressive. Why is she just one big ball of CC?
Yeah, I think the crazy part is that she has so much damage as well. The raw base damage on Sejuani is something you can't underestimate. That a little bit of Frostbite combined with that Glacial Prism just does so much when you get that auto afterwards, and Aze just absolutely catches Lonely off guard. They will get something back. Obviously, this Herald now going to fall. 8-minute Heralds are at least something that we are seeing a little bit more of here in the LLA. So I'm glad we do have at least that going for us as a reference point, shall we say, for when things will start to heat up. But they are going to end up losing at least one play on the bottom side. So at the moment, it's worthwhile. If you do lose another, not so much.
Right now, an attempted gank right here. Boogie is going to go for it. We're going to see if Lonely can get away. Doubtful.
Yeah, the CC is already there. Nice hop there to try and get out, and the wallop comes through as well. Lonely goes mini, which means maybe you can escape with the hyper procs, and just walks away. Good stuff there from Lonely.
I'd say that was a little bit of a mistime out of Boogie. Decided to go in for that fight a little bit too late as the Mininar was about to be procced. Mininar obviously squishier to deal with, but is going to be able to get away a little bit easier, possibly going in when he was in Mega Gnar. Might have been the better decision, but either way, it's a little bit of pressure. The Gnar does escape, and we can see, once again, hey, we're 10 minutes into the game, and you know what's up, available, and still alive? Yeah, it's the Drake.
I was going to say, is it my favorite anime of all time? Dragon Ball is still up on the bottom side.
Yep.
It would seem that way. As another attempt in. Look at the engage. Oh my god. That's illegal in 6 different states in the US.
It has to be, and probably should be in a couple more. Dimitri looking to get back involved, but this is a 2v1. I don't know if he wins.
No flashes and no ult available here for Boogie. Does still have that Glacial Prism on Aze. Dimitri walks too far, might get baited in by it, and does so.
Oh!
Dimitri gets bonked. Look at the acting there. I guess we might need to see these guys on Broadway.
And you can see Dimitri bringing his hand up to his head, looking like he knows he messed up, because going way too far forwards. It was a 2 versus 1, and I know the Trundle can be pretty good in a 2 versus 1, nick a couple of stats off of the tanky Sejuani as well, but still, it's definitely not going to go well for you. Bad communication, clearly. Lonely didn't communicate that, hey, the ultimate is still up and available for the Sejuani, gets caught out by it, and that's a repelled play once again in the top side. Even though Team Ace have had a few more bright spots so far this game, still falling further and further behind across the course of this game.
The only thing I can assume there is that there was some sort of call that said that the Sejuani ulti was down. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Maybe there was a mistake of coordination there. Maybe there was some sort of call that the Frostbite was actually a Glacial Prism and that was the issue. But either way, Dimitri ends up falling. Does still have that Herald, and is actually going to be popping it now in this mid lane, going to try and get some plates here for Alone too. Is relatively even in CS, perhaps still is that point of pressure here as the game goes later and later. There are so many good ultimates for the Silas to take.
The Silas will be absolutely oppressive during the later stages of the game. Hey, we just saw how good that Glacial Prison is out of the Sejuani. Well, just steal it away. Assault on Battery from the Vi, another fantastic ultimate to pick up for yourself, and you always love being able to polymorph somebody, maybe even yourself if you're going flying in. Alone certainly has a lot of options, and because they've just sat back, farmed, now got some turret plates under their belt as well, will be incredibly strong going into these team fights, which we may see sooner rather than later. Pings in the jungle, and you can see Team Ace pushing forwards.
Yeah, and crucially, they're forcing Boogie away. I like the respect being shown here from the Vi to sort of path around this Trundle, knowing that there was a potential trap going to be laid. So good pathing there from Boogie to avoid that. And Boogie's pathing in general has been relatively sort of solid, I'd say. There have been a couple of issues with it, of course, but relatively okay in Game 1 and now in this game. But Dimitri stepping up to match it. I think Dimitri had a bit of a poor Game 1, kind of got outmatched, but this game showing potentially how Team Ace have been able to pick up the wins they have picked up.
Trundle, clearly a good pick in Dimitri's hands, using it proactively. That's what we wanted to see from them last time around, and see if this engage works out.
Yeah, looking for a lot of damage coming through in this early stage, but not enough real CC to lock that one up.
No.
There's not any items completed for anyone, so not really fully online as Miro does end up going, blowing that flash. So there is at least that before this potential Drake number 1, 13 minutes in.
But that's also that tidal wave out of the Nami gone right before a Drake is up and available too. So, it's an interesting one. You can see the logic behind the play, but the Nami was so far behind. Straight was not around to be able to actually get involved with that play, really. Tidal wave kind of just sailed past, and although there was a decent amount of damage, you're going to need a couple more items to be actually completed before that is a viable gank to make work.
I think that's also just the factor of Nami ult isn't great aggressively. It's very, very slow. It's very telegraphed. It relies a lot more on being a even tertiary engage, not even a secondary one. It takes some time to get going. So perhaps there was a little bit of overconfidence in the travel time there from Team A's. But at the very least, they do get that flash. So I'd like to see them maybe look for something similar. Now Miru is lacking that key summoner.
See multiple members of Estral walking in, trying to pick themselves up, possibly a pick, looking to at least clear out the vision around this Drake, and we're finally seeing the beginnings of gank setup. Of course we are. It's nearly 40 minutes into the game. This is the point at which teleports unleash, and all of a sudden people are more comfortable with going in for these fights. We've seen it time and time again, and hey, a Sejuani flank is definitely going to be useful. The minute the top lane is more than happy to just sit top lane and beat each other's skulls in. See if they actually manage to find any solo kills. Not necessarily out of the realms of possibility, but for the most part should be pretty calm as Ping's going down mid lane.
Unironically, how broken is Sejuani W? It does so much damage.
So much damage.
Aze's whole trading pattern has just been W, walk away. W, walk away. Not even go for the E proxies. Shadow Surge popped to the mid lane. Niru might be looking for something. Is going to pop the second part. Double Fear going to come through. Battery in for Boogie. Counter comes through here for Alone, trying to turn it around. The damage is there, but unfortunately so is the Ignite. It's a 1-for-1 so far. Dimitri versus Miro. I feel like the Trundle isn't too unhappy about this one. Fear comes through. Miro going to do a little bit more, but not enough coming out. It's a 1-for-1 in the bot side. It's a 2-for-1 turnaround, and now Aze appearing. Goes for Prism is available. Whacks
Hits it.
great, and center bullseye. Goodbye. Trundle goes down.
That was a beautiful ultimate right there out of the Sejuani. Arrives a little bit late, and there was just action across the board. You can see up in the top lane, right there, AZ manages to pick themselves up a tower, a roam down, pick themselves up a kid, is doing fantastically in this game. And I'm terrified when the Sejuani gets involved in these actual big fights, possibly around Drake, possibly around Herald, or just, on the roam. Sejuani is a jungler and so has a lot of mobility options, a lot of options for getting involved if you want to get a gank going. And we'll see what actually happened in this bottom lane. So we're going to see a little bit of engage. It comes out of Team A's, but they're instantly on the run.
It's just a coordination breakdown there as 5kid wants to go away, Straight wants to go in, and it just means they use all of their cooldowns so early that Ace can still turn it around. Nice burst from 5kid with that little bit of extra Gale Force damage, but when you're fighting Lulu with Polymorph, it's just supportal combat coming into play. The Flash Polymorph is big from Shadow, and the shields keep themselves alive. Shadow just plays it perfectly.
Oh, Shadow was fantastic in the last game as well, once again proving that they can play on all different styles. Nautilus in the bag, Lulu in the bag. Interesting to see if they're going to pick themselves up another champion, in the next game. If we can see 3 different styles coming out of this man, maybe a Pyke, something aggressive would be quite interesting to see. For the minute though, the Lulu, fantastic with the Sivir, as well as with the rest of the champions, and when you have people who want to jump into you, such as the Gnar, being able to just go, nope, you're polymorphed now, is a fantastic way to deal with that.
It definitely feels like when we looked at this bot lane matchup, we thought Team Ace would be stronger in the early game. Well, Estral seems stronger everywhere. One goes down, Shadow Surge onto a second. 5kid gonna get chunked, does end up dashing away. Now it's mission, escape, abort, everything as Estral trying to get away.
Polymorph.
But Team A is gonna get found out. There's no reset on the Vex ulti though, no Shadow Surge available now. It's gonna be 2 picked up though, and a tower for Estral. They're taking control.
Might be able to get a second tower as well. Everybody dealing a lot of damage. Bugi gonna take a ton off of this tower as well, and they're going to pick themselves up this second mid lane turret. That blows this mid lane wide open. All of a sudden, the map is open for you. You're able to roam around with far more immunity. And still, I'd say the current strongest member of the team has not gotten involved in any of these big fights, really. AZ is still down in this bottom lane, just going to pick themselves up a tower. And hey, look at this, we're 17 minutes into the game, and finally the Drake is going to be started up. Nobody in this region cares about Drakes. Be interested to see how that works on the international stage, but for the minute, clearly working for these teams domestically.
Yeah, it's definitely showing some power, should we say, at this point. But the game is still not over. There is still much to play for, and I'm excited to see what Team Ace can bring in those later stages. They do sort of have some scaling issues, though. They've got this Civ Evolution matchup where the Sivir arguably is going to be better when the game gets to sort of 3-4 items. She's historically known as that wave clear farming goddess, and while she is down 20 CS, the rest of the team is going to make up for that in this mid game. I feel, Miru so high up in terms of the gold graphs, right? She's got 1.5, 2 items approaching, and the Sejuani here for Aze also at that 2 item mark. They are online.
I am interested to see throughout this entire series if in the end Shadow actually dies. Just has played fantastically the whole way through, not allowing themselves to go down and having a really good time of it alongside the Sivir. I think maybe in the next game you need to ban out the Sivir. It's just so safe. You're constantly seeing Shadow roaming around the map, getting involved everywhere, and this Sivir is able to just sit back, relax. This might be a possible gank in the top lane though.
Yeah, it's going to find the pillar, but not a whole lot else as the Shadow Surge utilized. Miru looking for it. A lot of CC here onto Alone, and Buki is coming inbound. Does have the Assault and Battery, but there's a Flash Glacial Prism. You don't need it. Miru going to find the pickup on that one. No reset, but nothing else needed as the Herald's going to get charged to the top side.
Herald going to go down in the top side. Baron is about to spawn. I think it would be a little bit too aggressive to go for that right now, and going to pick yourselves up another tower. The map pressure is absolutely ridiculous right now. You can see 5 turrets to 0. The map is getting so very small for Team AZ.
Oh, teleport from Sheila there to move forwards, ends up slamming that one. The TP doesn't get cancelled, so there might be a lot of problems here as Lonely going to get blown up. Oh, that's a teleport for the ages, and unfortunately, the only place that Gnar is going is back to the fountain with Alone, who no longer alone, is able to spawn up and maybe join the fight, but the inhib is more than enough here for Estral.
And they can sit back, relax, possibly take a reset, and then you can look to pressure onto the Baron. And if you're Team Ace, you do not want to walk into this Baron pit to contest, but you have to. There is so little safety left on the map. Currently, the only safe place for Team Ace is in their base. No more turrets up and available for them other than one tier 2 down in the bottom lane at the exact opposite end of the map to where you want it when you're contesting for a Baron, as well as the fact they're on red side, and so walking into a Baron pit is even harder to do. It's becoming very difficult right now for Team Ace to get back into this one, but what do you think they can do to claw their way back?
They definitely have options, right? Silas is able to take a lot of decent ultis. That Glacial Prism going to be useful. The Wild Growth combined with Dimitri to help sort of stall out the game. The Shadow Surge potentially is some sort of flanking option. But it's really on just finding one of these members and just blowing them up with damage. When you have that 4v5, you can play it so much easier. However, if this happens, you might just get blown up yourself. 5 kid, goodbye. 5 HP isn't enough for you. You're just going to fall quickly. And unfortunately, that is the thing that can happen. And now Straight is the next one.
Go on.
Oh, Miru is just going to take him all alone. I mean, the Vex doesn't get that one at least, so Straight is going to be able to limp away, but the team is there to cover, and now Kindless going to pop that on the hunt to help protect their mid laner. But what do you do when Miru is on board?
Ouch! That was a ridiculous amount of damage, and if you take a look at what this Vex has built, it's an Everfrost, it's a Zhonya's. Those are not big damage items. This Vex is just dealing so much right now, as you can see.
Yeah, and Alone teleports in, but that TP might stand for terrible predicament, because that's what Ace found themselves in as the fight breaks out. Nice Gnar onto 3. Maybe Lonely can stall it out, but the members still aren't here. Remember, 5 Kid had to respawn. It's a 4 versus 5. Assault Battery onto the loop. Look how far he's going to follow. It's going to be too far, though. Ruby goes too deep, goes too far. They're going to drown in the ocean of the Team Ace, and now, suddenly, the turnaround is coming to fruition. Estral, they're looking for a bit more. Kindless in. Flashes away to dodge the chains there from Alone. It's a 4 for 4 alive now, but it's going to be at least 1 down for the side of Estral.
Ooh, Buki, I love the aggression, but my man, that was possibly a little bit too deep. Still, you can see that was a flash that had to be blown. That's why the Lucian ended up so far back. But look at the pressure in the base right now, because that fight went on for so very long. And hey, let's take a look at this reset. Okay, here we go. Wandering around. Shadow Surge is gonna land right here, goes in, and just boom. So much damage, lands the Everfrost as well, and then is like, hey, I want more. Doesn't manage to quite pick up that second kill onto the Nami, and actually that tidal wave was exactly what turned the fight for Team Ace. If that Nami had gone down, things would have been very different, probably a Baron. Still, currently Team Estral finding themselves in a very comfortable position, about 8k ahead, and they've picked themselves up a second Drake. What is the rift gonna be?
Oh, we're looking oceanic in this one. Maybe Nami gets the home field advantage, though. Maybe that's the comeback here for Team Ace.
Oh, yeah. That is what is going to change this around for Team Ace. Currently, they are so very far behind that it's getting a little bit difficult to deal with. There are definitely avenues, as we've said. The Gnar landing a big ultimate. I mean, we saw in the previous day of games what a big Gnar can do to the opposition. But right now, the Baron's being spawned. It is spotted out. So how do Team Ace get into this pit? I don't think they can just walk in blindly. And actually, currently, Buki is not even in the pit getting involved.
It is warded, though, now. They have the pink ward in there, so they know exactly how low it's going. Maybe they burger flip it. Maybe that's how Ace can get back into it. But look off on the side. Buki just gets absolutely blown up here from 5kid. He's going to survive thanks to that wild growth. But it potentially means that the fight is really hard now for the Team Ace members to sort of lose. They are ahead in this one. Azek has to find some sort of engage.
Has to go in, goes in.
Oh, 5kid, what is that? Goes in on Kindless, just gets nuked. That's your source of damage, though. Team Ace might be in trouble. They're going to find one. They're going to find two, though. They're turning it around. Meanwhile, on the top side, as they're going to flip it, but it's just the Sejuani and the Lulu. Shadow, you're going to end up losing your life, unfortunately. It's a 4-kill sort of turnaround here now.
Look in the base, though.
Yeah, look at the base, though. Teleport available for Arze. They're going to have to recall and cancel this one out, as they're going to end up just getting murdered by the Sejuani in the back door otherwise. And off the back of what I thought was a great situation for them, it's not going to be anything here for Team Ace. It's so unfortunate.
Looked like it could have been good, as actually you can see here, AZ deciding to go in, dodges out on the bubble.
Arze, no. Don't do it to him.
Don't do it.
Run! Run
The
straight!
bubble.
No! Run!
Oh,
Oh
that was
no.
just painful to watch. Sejuani is so very hard to get away from, especially as a Nami. You know, that one just hurts to see. And that is now a pretty decent timing, about 30 seconds right now until the support is back up and available. Possibly a return to the Baron Pit for the members of Estral. I think that play may well have worked for Estral if Boogie hadn't been sat right on a ward.
Yeah, you gotta feel like Nami just got turned into sushi there and gobbled up there by Sejuani and her boar. Bit unfortunate there, and with that death timer, they feel like maybe they can go. Engaged potential here. They do have Glacial Prism up. They're looking for it.
Oh,
Shadow Surge is going to find a little bit of damage onto Lonely. Mega Gnar might come through, but I don't think it's enough. It's not. Miru gets the reset. Shadow Surge 2. Double kill for Miru. Looks for a
lands.
finds it. Maybe going to blow up 5-Kid. Is it a Penta? No. Boogie's going to take that one, but another Shadow Surge is up. Alone goes down. There's one for Kindless. 4 kills. Oh, you're
Lands
gonna
again.
Do it to a Miru.
Gone.
Blow him up. Triple kill for Miru. Exterminio is going to come through. Ace going to come through there for Estral.
Oh, what a play right there. And now pushing in the top side, pushing in the mid lane, and 3 members turn back onto the Baron. It is pressure across the map right now, and just beautiful. You can see Miru is a bit of a coin flip player, died a couple times, but has found themselves just fantastic fights, and just with those Shadow Surges landing it time after time after time after time, and just making the days of Team Ace impossible.
I love how Boogie was going to dice the Baron, so they had to heal him. So the heal has been blown there for Kindness, but it's worth. They get the smite come through onto that Baron. Don't understand why there wasn't a smite for HP. I think that would have been maybe the better decision.
It's fine. They've just won a big team fight, emotions are running high, and logic possibly low. All good though, everything is okay right now if your team Estral. The coaches backstage have got to be incredibly happy right now, and coaches for Team Ace are going to be scrambling. You're currently down in a series that you don't have to win. If you lose this one, you do go down into the loser's bracket, as we see the engage right onto the Gnar, and you think the Gnar is the main target right now, but it's not. Instead, going flying in for the jungler, managing to take them out as well, and this is Shadow Surge 1 landed. Shadow Surge 2 landed. Just a ridiculous amount of damage, continuing to watch Miru go through. Lands on another carry, takes this one out, and you think, okay, just gonna push forwards for the base. Nope, gonna land it on the Nami and make this one sad fishy.
Yeah, fishy fish for the dishy dish. There's no Yumi, but there's plenty to munch down on that one. As Estral, they get themselves that Baron, and with the dragon spawning in 20 seconds time, I would like to say that this means that we're going to be seeing that one be taken afterwards, and we can maybe see a soul point on the table, but this is the LLA, also known as lovingly lacking aggression, where we don't take objectives for 8 minutes at the very least. So we'll see if that one does come
those
through.
dragons. No, but instead, I really like this play, this macro right here out of Estral. They're looking to pick themselves up another turret as that's damage.
Just gets popped down. The re-engage is going to come through now. Boogie looking for it, but goes a bit too far. Does have to go golden. Buys time, and time is golden, unfortunately, but going to fall down. It's going to be a 1-for-1 so far. Aze is going to get sort of punked there from 5-Kid, but it's all on Kindless. No one can touch the Sivir. The cooldowns are down. Can they really do anything? I feel like it's just going to be the base being focused.
You should do, and this is what I was about to say. They decided to take all the outer turrets first before taking any inhibitors, which means now they can take every single inhibitor in just one clean sweep through. Bot lane gone, mid lane gone. Gonna be a little bit risky to take this top lane one, and I'm gonna have to back away from it. Teleport coming in.
Yeah, no inhibition now. Miru gets engaged on by Lonely. They're going to try and blow up the Vex, and that's exactly what they'll find. Shutdown there for 5-Kid. Cleanses away from Aze, trying to stall. But the Sejuani is so tanky. You can't kill him. Gargoyle is going to be exactly what there is, as the Lucian gets turned to stone. Good night, my dear friend. Double kill for Sivir. Make it a triple. Kindless going all out. Might be looking for a quadra. Dimitri is going to fight back, but it's only going to be for so long. Sejuani going to absolutely slap that one about. Exterminio is going to fall into the sign, as the game is going to be exactly all that Estral needs. 2-0 Estral. Death's door is what Aze is at.
Estral looking to progress in this tournament, looking to keep on in the winner's bracket and take this series. Take out the team that knocked them out last year in playoffs, that nicked their spot for MSI. This team is looking for blood. They are looking to take out Team Ace, and they are looking for that world spot.
They absolutely are, and they are showing control. They are showing a lack of mistakes, and they are showing a little bit of playmaking potential, which is something that, you know, at least in the last series we got to witness, there wasn't a lot of. There wasn't that killer instinct, but this time around,
Yep.
Estral, when they get a lead, they are not slowing down.
No, they are not going in, in, in. It is lovely to see Team Ace, on the other hand, gonna need to change things up again. This was a pretty different composition, but just going wrong for them. And I have got to see more right now out of Lonely. Got counterpick twice in a row. Be interesting to see if they get counterpick again. Got to do more with it. That Gnar didn't find any big Gnar ultimates. There was no moment where you were like, oh my god, he stunned up 4 people doing a ton of damage. He actually just ended up getting farmed for kills by the Sejuani he picked the Gnar into. And so coming into this next game, Lonely needs to step up. It was a bit better from Dimitri though, and there were certainly more signs of life right here out of Team Ace.
There definitely were more signs of life, but unfortunately, if they do fail to get that win in the next game, it's going to be all for naught. Meanwhile, though, if you're a fan of Estral, you're in a very good spot. You're very happy. However, I think I need a bit of time to reflect. I think it's time for us to take a step back and go to a little bit of a pause in this sort of analysis. So we will see you very soon. Go get yourself some water, some drinks, and everything else you need of every variation. We will see you very soon. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I just banged my wrist and it hurt really badly. Hello, everyone. We are back. Luckily, the beating I received was not as bad as the beating that Team A's has just received from Estral, because that was a bit of a rough one.
Yeah.
It was maybe a little bit better than game one, but still not quite there.
Yeah, it was getting there for Team Ace, but Estral, that was really clean. There were a couple moments where things went wrong, but the overall map play was very nice, especially in the early game. I think that is the main point right now. The early game out of Estral is calm and collected, and also so is the late game. It's only the mid game where things begin to falter a tiny bit, and I really do mean a tiny bit.
Yeah, they I think they get a bit excited, should we say? They get maybe a little bit
Mm,
over aggressive, and you know, I think it's warranted though, because the way that these guys play, they are one of the more, I think, aggressive. It seems it's a word we've used a lot this cast. I won't lie. We have pivoted onto aggressive because it's just the
yeah.
best way to describe what the LLA I think lacks.
Yes.
Generally they are very passive. They are very centric of the idea that we can wait and it will be fine.
Yes.
We outscale with Lucian Nami Copium. Um, it's one of those where, as a region, they're so slow that it's punishable, and Estral, they do it well.
Yeah, they have found their little niche, which is just going in constantly, finding their aggressive plays. And I mean, if you're looking for somebody who you more need to control the aggression of than get them to go in, it is Miru. Just constant aggression out of this man. And it's been fantastically played as well. On that Yone, a couple of moments where he went in a little bit too deep. Same with the Vex going flying in, but still constantly landing those skill shots and just finding the big damage for the last pick that was pulled out for Estral. Just a fantastic little counter pick, and knew that the Silas was there, knew that you'd been giving over not the worst ultimate as well. So overall, a clean draft right here out of Estral.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised we'd see Vex, 'cause I think the champion hasn't uh, been in the greatest of spots of things. But on the subject of the draft, there you go. We got a
There
draft.
we go.
We will take a quick look at what we were allowed to witness in the last one, and Talia was banned out, wasn't allowed through the second time. But you know what was? Siva. And Siva
Yes.
is annoying to play against.
Sivir is really annoying to play against, especially because we've seen twice now and during the regular season as well that Estral like to pick a composition where you can go in. And hey, who's better to go in with than a Sivir who just pops ultimate and you're all running that little bit faster? It's a fantastic decision as well. And also, Sivir is pretty safe. You can sit back, relax, not get involved, and if you're in your lane and well, you get yourself a 2 versus 2 kill during the early laning phase, that doesn't go amiss either.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. And I think, on the subject of the Scylla, right? We say, oh, two kill, happy. We are
Yeah,
bowling out. We're feeling great. That means that you've just killed the Lucian Nami lane, and
yeah.
this was the big counter. It's something that has risen to prominence a lot in solo queue with the electrocute Nami and Lucian proccing it so quickly. What happened?
I think it's a little bit indicative of just how good Shadow is. Like, Shadow is fantastic so far. Only died a couple of times in this entire series, and as a support, that is incredibly difficult to do. The Lulu play was fantastic, the polymorphs on point as well. And if you can't land those bubbles as the Nami, all of a sudden the Sivir is able to just walk up to you. And even if you're looking like you are going to land that bubble, that is 1 point of CC that you have up and available, and there's a spell shield right there on top of that Sivir. You need compositions versus a Sivir where actually you have a couple of points of CC in order to actually lock her down. The one piece of CC out of the Nami just isn't enough, and we saw it during that bottom lane. Even with the cleanse as well, the Lucian was still vulnerable, not able to get anything done. And when you're also having big problems in the top side, drawing the jungle attention up there, not able to try for these ganks, it just means that you're not able to find those 2v2 kills, not able to snowball it through, and the Lucian was dealing a decent chunk of damage with that cull, but never actually enough to get those kills, get the snowball rolling.
Yeah, and if you're not able to get the ball rolling on one side, maybe you go to the top side. Maybe then we
Yeah.
can see some things come through. We've got the counter pick, the R5 Nar into Sejuani. We, yes,
Woo!
I am loving these lonely counter picks. Aatrox, Nar. If I was going to compare it to a game, it would be Sin City. It has not been ideal here for the red side of the rift. And
No,
Team Ace, they've played the red side twice. It hasn't looked amazing for them.
no.
Do you think it's time to maybe go towards the blue side?
You've got to try it at this point. The counterpicks clearly have not been working. You've given two counterpicks over to Lonely, and neither of the counterpicks have pulled through. The Gnar wasn't terrible. I mean, neither was the Aatrox, but not terrible does not mean you got involved in the game, didn't get fighting, were not on top, and so you just need to be careful with constantly trying to put your counterpicks on one player. If it's not working, change it up.
Yeah, and I worry because when I am quote unquote drafting, there's a few sections, should we say, of the draft that are the most important to me. B1, R5 are like arguably the two most important, but you know it's debatable depending on game. That does not mean I am going to just do nothing. Like
Yeah,
there are champ players that grief, carry, and just exist. It's okay to teams need to have players that just exist. That is a thing in each game.
yeah,
It can't be your R5 pick.
no.
Your that is your big final Hail Mary. It is your go get 'em. It is your winner. And Lonely hasn't been able to dial it up to that level 10, on the amp. It's been a
No.
constant 5, and that's not been enough.
Your first pick can just exist, and you've
Hmm.
seen that from Kindless. Kindless has picked themselves up the Sivir and certainly has existed in these games, and I'd say played almost flawlessly for what you are expecting from your Sivir. But with that counter pick, like you said, you're seeing who you're into. You knew it was going to be the Sejuani. You still decided to go with the Gnar, which, as you said, can be a counter pick, but wasn't in this situation. Possibly pivot. If you still want to take the red side, that's fine, but possibly pivot into a different player getting that counter pick. I'd say I'd be perfectly happy for a loaned to get that counter pick. Has actually played fantastically on the Silas both games.
And I just like to say quickly for new time viewers, because obviously a lot of you guys, I imagine, haven't experienced a lot of the LLA, and that's perfectly fine. As a region, the AD carry skill isn't exactly the biggest strength of the region. It's one of the lower in terms of pools. We're not the LPL, where literally every team has a world's level AD carry, right? A
Yeah.
lot of them aren't amazing, which is why I think things like Sivir and even like things like Ezreal to an extent, where you can play these more passive styles and still be relevant, is something that has so much more priority in this sort of region. So I'm quite surprised that we have seen this Sivir come through so many times. But with the Talia off the table as one of your bans, with the Wukong and the Azir, do we see it get banned away if we see teammates on red side, or do you think it's a blue side first pick?
It could well be a blue side first pick, and I think there's been a little bit too much priority down in the bottom side of the map in ways that it just hasn't worked out so far for Team Ace. The thing that I am interested in terms of drafts for these teams is whether or not Estral is going to show us anything different. If the Sivir is banned out, they might have to, but they can still show us a composition where the bot laner just sits back and farms, the support goes and roams around, and the top lane is where all of the true action is. And I mean, you're in a situation where, hey, if you win this next game, awesome. You just get to move on. You're in the upper bracket. You're moving your way towards picking up the title of this closing season, moving towards getting that world spot. There is no real reason to see any adaptation. The adaptation has to come from Team A's. I think you got to try blue side. If you lose 3 games in a row on red side, that just feels bad. And there's so many questions left up and available. What if you'd have had blue side? How would you have changed your draft? So go for it. And then, hey, if you do want to let the Sivir go, or if you do want to let the Talia go, you can then pick it up for yourself with that first pick. First pick, I think, would really benefit Team A's because clearly the counter pick is not.
Yeah, and if it's not, we might as well try something new. But is there anything else that they will need? I'm looking at Team A's, and maybe it's not just a drafting position. Maybe there's a player, problems there. Who are you looking at to be that big carry for them?
Come on, Dimitri, you've got this. The first game was a little bit too passive on the Lee Sin. The second game was a lot better on that Trundle. Actually found a couple of ganks, was playing quite nicely, able to actually win that Baron fight as well. I just needed a little bit more, that tiny bit extra. Clearly, the team wants to play quite early and aggressive, and so that's fine. Just pick yourself up another one of those early aggressive champions. Maybe the Xin Zhao, that is still up and available. Other champions they've enjoyed playing, the Viego, sorry, could definitely pick that one up as well. Something that you can get things done with early, but that doesn't fall off in the late game because the Lee Sin wasn't aggressive in the early game and then fell off towards the late game. If you pick yourself up the Viego, let's say, you still have the ability to fight really well in the early game, but if things go later, you are still useful.
Yeah, but maybe that little bit of extra uh, usefulness as the game goes a little bit later, maybe not putting yourself on so much of a time limit, will give some power back into this Ace team, put the wind in their sails, if you will, and march them closer to taking the series, or at least keep themselves in it, because we are at death's door. This is
Yes.
your upper bracket life. There is still the lower bracket if it doesn't work out, but you don't want to have to do that little salty run back. But what we aren't salty about is this champ select coming into play. The Ari and that Gwen off the table like they have been all series. Same with the Azir and the Talia now being that newer ban.
So the Talia going to stay off the board. Absolutely fine there. We'll see what this final ban is coming through as well.
Ooh.
Nice. Okay, the Civet does come off of the board. It's the instant first pick for AZ with that Wukong. And now we're going to see the Lee Sin picked up for Dimitri as well as the Gragas. So Gragas top lane. That is a very early top lane pickup right here. So we are saving the counter pick for later on. It's what we asked for. It's what we needed to see for that adaptation out of Team Ace. The response, are we going to see once again that... Oh, okay. All right, we're going to see the Silas. Are we going to see another AD carry, or are you going to wait for a little bit later now?
I think it's interesting because it feels like a bit of a compositional switch, because on the blue side here, Team Estral, they haven't played this Silas. It's been alone. We haven't played this Aphelios. That was 5 Kid. So they're going to take away two of the pieces that were within that team A's sort of composition that obviously did end up losing out last time around. But they'll take them for themselves and have to play it into that Lee Sin again here for Dimitri.
And we saw the Lee Sin. It was not particularly impressive last time around. A little bit of a run back. Will Dimitri be able to pick it up? And I really like this. If this is the locked in Rise for Alone, this allows you to get involved with the rest of the map. Alone was playing pretty well in this middle lane, but not actually able to get that impact on the rest of the map, wasn't able to translate those small leads that he was finding for himself. And also Miru is a very difficult champion, a very difficult player, sorry, to actually find anything against. So if you can just say, hey, I'm going to get involved with the rest of the map, it also gives you that wave clear that currently you're lacking a little bit with Lee Sin.
Yeah, it also isn't a sort of team fighting ultimate that Mira would likely want to take on that Silas.
Mm.
Usually, Silas players they prefer ultimates that either provide gap closing or provide them with some sort of crowd control. Realm Warp, a very good team key, to enable the rest of your composition for macro decision making, but it's not so good in terms of the actual scuffling. So maybe that also part of the reason also provides you with that CC with your Lee Sin, a very strong mid jungle 2v2 here picked up inside of teammates.
If you need to get ganks going, which you do as a Lee Sin, you have a ton of setup right now. Both the Gragas and the Rise going to be able to put down a lot of CC. Make sure that these ganks can come up, as we're going to see the bans. We're going to see both the Sejuani and the Nog getting taken off the board by Team Ace. They're not interested in seeing those gone. And 2 AD carries off the board as the response for Estral.
Yeah, the only
Oh,
problem with this is that it does limit your options here in that bottom side. You could go towards this vein, but honestly, I think this matchup is pretty hard to play.
yeah.
That's quite hard as well. Honestly, I think there's a lot of options here available. Jinx is the obvious one that comes to mind, where you can pair that with an R5 Thresh, or if Thresh gets picked, you have other options like going towards that Lulu or the Renata. But with Renata open, potentially to be taken away, there's a lot of pairings with this Aphelios that can be strong. So I like what Team Ace has built for themselves, but I'm a bit worried about giving so much premier individual champions over to Estral.
The Renata is a big pick of Shadow. Absolutely loves it. As do they love the other things they were hovering, the Brom, the Pike. We'll see what the actual lock-in is at the end. Need a little bit more time to think about it. So the Ornn is going to be picked up once again for AZ. We saw how well they played it during the first game. See what this support pickup is going to be. You're against a Rise, you're against a Jinx. These are both squishy and vulnerable champions. The Pike would be able to ruin their day. The Renata would be able to stop this engage coming out of the Lee Sin, and the Gragas, and as well, the Jinx is going to be the lock-in, stopping any of that engage. This is a very different composition to what we've seen previously for Estral. They were the ones going in, but the Renata wants to sit back and use that as a defensive ultimate. And the final pickup may well be the Brom.
Yeah, I'm just
Is
thinking though, there is an opportunity here for a Karma angle as well on R5,
Yes.
which could be really strong. I would like to see that. They probably won't go towards it because of champion pool situation, and Straight does instead go towards that Brom. But if you think about what you're playing into, Silas obviously not going to get too much value from that pick otherwise, but the Bromo is going to provide a little bit more for him to take away. So having said that, it is a denial to Ornn engage. And without the Ornn Horn to be called to start the battle, it might be a bit harder now for Estral to pick those fights.
Will be, and the Brom is definitely a good pairing with the Jinx. You can land those concussive blows pretty easily, and all of a sudden, the opposition is stunned up, going to take a lot of damage. The Renata takes a lot as well, but the Renata revive going to be very good when paired up with the Sylas as well as the Wukong, who do love going flying in, and you can see different compositions to what we were expecting. Beforehand, Team A's were the ones who were trying to absorb the pressure, be the disengage composition, but right now I'd say they're much more in terms of the engage. Lee Sin wants to go in, as does the barrels coming out of that Gragas. And hey, if you want to go flying into the backline, why not do it in a realm warp?
Yeah, I am a little bit worried about some of this stuff, though. I definitely think there are some issues coming into play potentially, and I wonder how much of sort of what Team Estral is able to do against this sort of Team Ace composition is going to come to fruition, because Team Ace, they've got themselves a sort of a good team fighting comp, but you're trying to team fight into Arenata, into an
Mm.
Ornn, into a Wukong, into
Yep.
an Aphelios. These champions will shred you. They do have a great sort of split push if Ryze can get going, as well as a good mid jungle 2v2. I don't know if it'll be enough.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm not sure if it will be enough either. One of the most important things right now in this game is going to be seeing if these junglers can get ahead. The Lee Sin was piloted by Dimitri in the first game. Going to take it back for this do or die moment right here. Team A's need to win this one. If they don't, they're going to be going back down to the losers bracket. Going to have to fight their way up through from the very bottom once again. Esther looking to come through in dominant fashion, really secure themselves as that top team in this playoffs.
It'd be such a statement too, wouldn't it? Considering the
Yes.
history of these two teams, considering what it would mean to them both, and now Buki going to get, a violent, should we say, at the start, trying to find their way into a little bit of a warding situation, as Dimitri did in game number 2, but nothing going to come to it. Both members going to walk away. However, mana flow diff, big. Ryze able to get themselves potentially mana flow banned if it is being ran, as Alone maybe going to get caught out. Walks a bit too far forward. There is the potential route going to come through. Miru ends up getting flashed away from, but flashes in themselves. Alone is in trouble. I don't think the cooldowns are there, though, so Miru going to get that chunk. Remember, though, Alone has got the teleport. Miru also does as well, so nothing major going to end up going down, but that is going to be 2 summoners being blown in the mid lane.
But the flash off of Alone, that means there's no flashes in this mid lane. Going to be juicy targets right now for the junglers, and everybody needs to be pretty careful in this mid lane. Both of these junglers are going to be happy to get involved with these kills. Wukong is such an interesting jungler. He absolutely needs to find himself early ganks, otherwise he falls behind. Is pretty useless, but is very difficult at actually getting those kills for himself. That's one way to do it, though. So close to picking up that first blood.
Yeah, and it's really awkward now because Alone, you have to really base it, because otherwise you're going to get hit with EW here from Sylas. The Kingslayer damage would kill, and is now going to be forced to recall, but that means XP is being killed. You're dropping a little bit there. Also, Miru likely able to get that recall and get quite ahead in terms of the experience advantage. So, really nice situation here for the side of Estral, and already some problems coming into play here for this time of side of Team Ace.
Alone's going to have to blow that teleport to get back to lane. That is now no summoner spells mid, juicy and available for that Wukong if he wants to get involved, as we see some aggression in the bot lane.
Yeah, they are trading pretty aggressively, and Shadow gonna fall down in this one. First blood going to the side of Team Ace, and now Kindless might get chased down too. Potentially that concussive blow is going to get stacked up, but no, does flash away really well. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Miru also a target. Dimitri engages on, but Miru looks for the re-engage. Going to take a lot of damage back. Maybe wishes they hadn't hit that one, as the chains do end up falling for the walk away, but a good play out of Team A's gets themselves finally a winning bot side.
That is what we've been asking for this entire time. And if you're going to find yourself an advantage in the bot lane, the Jinx Braum is a fantastic duo to do it on. The Jinx getting ahead will be terrifying. If anytime you can get those resets during a team fight, you're able to just run through your opposition. And Dimitri's been pretty active on the map so far as well. Both of these junglers a little bit behind on where they should be in terms of CS, just because they've been getting around the map trying to get all the action going for their team. This mid lane is pretty risky right now for all involved. Miru taking a lot of damage, but no summoner spells on this Ryze makes him a pretty juicy target for a possible gank out of Boogie.
Look at Dimitri, just constantly hovering around mid lane now. They know that with this Riot setup, it's a free kill. They know there's no flash available.
Straight.
So I love to see the fact that they are playing sort of this way as you say, Shadow now get engaged on by Dimitri, still looking around here, but Miru is nearby.
Oh,
The
no.
damage isn't short for the Silas. Has to flash, 1 HP. Here comes the trade. Boogie picks one up, and it might be time to take a little bit of extra damage out as Alone's going to get chunked a bit more. No mana on the rise, though, so we're going to have to walk away.
So many roams. You can see the supports deciding to get involved during that fight. Ran straight there from base, getting involved in that fight, but doesn't actually find anything. Instead, the kill is going to go over. That is the Wukong picking up a kill. Exactly what you need on the Wukong. You cannot allow yourself to fall behind, and this is a pretty good early game so far for Team A's. They're being proactive on the map, trying to get things done, but things occasionally going just that little bit wrong.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it is only that little bit that needs to go wrong for the game to really snowball out of control. And Estral, they've got themselves that little advantage. It's only 100 right now, but we've seen them balloon leads of around this amount to massive amounts when we hit around 8-minute mark. And that's when that Herald will be online, and the Herald is something we love to play for here in the LLA. So my question is, will Boogie be able to transition his pathing in such a way that they can play for this objective? Because right now, the bottom side isn't looking amazing for them.
Right now, this bottom side is a little bit iffy. For the minute, it's okay, not fallen too far behind. And hey, Kindless is going to be a-okay in this lane. You're going to scale up just beautifully as the Aphelios. You do not need to find yourself in massive deficits or leads, to be honest, as the Aphelios. Just can sit back, relax. Although giving over kills to a Jinx is bad, the Braum did end up picking that one up as seeing a bit of aggression in this mid lane.
Yeah, Miru's just showing that powerful Silas trading pattern. Level 6 already dinged there, so that XP advantage is going to be relevant. And just look at the way that Miru is playing, trying to zone Alone off of the XP, but Dimitri is there to help out.
See, if this is aggression right here, could well get jumped upon by Dimitri. Does end up walking back. Silas is an interesting one where occasionally you land a skill shot and you really, really didn't want to land that skill shot, but seems to be okay for the minute. And when we get to these big team fights, I have to give a little bit more of an advantage over to Estral. So it's good to see Team Ace finding themselves good plays during the laning phase.
I think it's really interesting that Dimitri has been able to sort of stay in the mid lane vicinity for so long. But look at the jungle XP and the jungle CS. It's still actually relatively close. So Dimitri doing a great job of adjusting their pathing there so that they're able to still support their mid laner and maybe look for those kills onto Miru if any mistakes are made.
Straight going on a roam and just giving over that Braum Glacial Fissure to the Silas is a pretty strong ultimate. Going to definitely allow the Silas a little bit more kill pressure onto Alone's. Going to have to be careful to not get too up to and aggressive, and it's an interesting play right there.
Yeah, Alone's probably not very happy about that.
No.
Probably quite annoyed that his Braum has just given Silas an ult that can have kill threat now for literally 0 games. So that kind of sucks, I won't lie. And you're probably flaming it. If this was solo queue, it'd be like, okay, report Braum, go next, griefing. But it's fine,
Hopefully
everyone is teammates, so
yeah, hopefully Alone has a little bit more mental stability than that, than your average solo queue player. Who
I think it's hard not to
yes.
from the average solo queue player. Having said that, all of these guys do play solo queue themselves, so pinch of salt and all that. However,
possibly not the average solo queue player though.
Yeah, not the average. We're a little bit higher than Gold 3 in this game lobby, it would seem. As Aze, showing a little bit of knowledge there with the W to buffer through the explosive cask. So great usage of the Bella's Breath there to stay alive.
And now it has the support of Boogie. Might be able to get in and involved with this top lane. Let's have the ult up.
Yeah, not able to hit that initial knockup, but now they've delayed a little bit too long. Dimitri is here. Potentially that turnaround could come through, and oh no, Boogie's walking away. You have to feel like maybe in the top side it's exactly time to go. Body Slam isn't up just yet, but Dimitri gonna flash, interrupt that ram calling. No one's gonna be called. The jungler might be summoned though. Boogie gonna look for the turnaround. No mana on Lonely. Good initial belly bot, but not a whole lot else to be provided. It's gonna mean going down is all that's available, but Boogie has gone too long. The Sonic Wave is coming up. Dimitri might have it, but no! It's gonna be the damage for Boogie. Double kill.
Look at his face! Look at Aze's face!
Jungle diff.
That was lovely right there. You could see the excitement on AZ's face, was so very happy with winning that 1v1. So close as well. You said it might have been a little bit too long. Just unfortunately, he'd walked away as more aggression in the mid lane. And this game is not sleepy, is not slow. A little bit different to what we've been expecting.
Yeah, don't worry though, because what we are lacking is that 8-minute herald. You have to feel like a proactive play will come about here, but just look at this top lane play.
It looks so very bad for Estral. You know, right here, you're seeing your top laner getting taken out, gonna go down before able to get under the tower, but then in comes Boogie, manages to just about land the Cyclone, gets one kill, and then this is just a bonk fest. There is no true, you know, mechanical outplays right here. This is mash your auto attack and buttons as quickly as possible, and right there, Boogie comes out on top.
And crucially, the Wukong passive, providing that little bit of extra armor, is going to be so relevant in those moments. Combine that with the Conqueror, and it's just a little bit too much there for Dimitri. Great attempt there from Team A's. You can tell they're trying. I love the Q flash kick there from Dimitri. The confidence to go for that in those ganking scenarios, but it just doesn't quite work out. Now maybe looking for something mid lane.
Definitely the possibility is, hey, we're 10 minutes into the game, we're still a little bit away from when we want to pick up that first Drake. Does it matter that it is a Hextech Drake? That it's a fantastic individual Drake to get? No, it doesn't. Nobody is interested in picking up this Drake. Who wants extra ability haste? Who wants extra auto attack speed? Clearly, neither of these teams.
Yeah, I guess they're bigger fans of Kanye. What can I say? There's no Drake enjoyers here in the LLA, it would seem. But Estral, doing okay for themselves outside of the neutral objective scene. You know, they're a little bit ahead in gold, a little bit ahead in sort of CS across the board, except for that bottom side. So maybe Team A's, it might be time to move towards your bottom side. I know it's hard to find these kills with that bailout available and Shadow hitting level 6, but you want to find something proactive to play towards.
For the minute, everybody's sitting back calm and relaxed. Might be a bit aggressive now, looking for Gank's top lane, and there are loads of members around.
Yeah, it's a two-man Call of the Forge coming through there. The Ram Ranch inbound. Glacial not hitting anyone, and the cask is just going to be happily sipped away there. Gragas absorbing that one quite nicely like it's a Sunday night.
And because of that pressure, going to be able to turn around, pick up this Rift Herald. It is way beyond the point at which you're going to get turret plates, but... Oh, no, sorry, not quite beyond the point at which you're going to get turret plates. If you pop it quickly, you will be able to, and that would be a nice injection of gold.
We're okay. We got a few more minutes. But we do also have a run up towards the bottom side as Alone tries to use that one, but kind of given away, I would have to say, by the bottom side there from 5 King straight. Running at the opposition, usually a bit of a telltale sign.
Just slightly, but still, this is going to allow the bot lane to be pushed in, a little bit of pressure, and now the Hextech Drake finally going to go down about 12 minutes into the game. Going to pick this one up for Team Ace, and now all of a sudden, you know, you can start Drake stacking if you want to. That soul is a win condition at some point in this game. I doubt we're going to actually get that long, but still, it's a little bit of extra stats right now on Team Ace, and it's a good response when you know that the Rift Herald is going down in the top side.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this objective trading. It's definitely something important to do. At least you are mitigating your losses by gaining something, right? Otherwise, you just sort of sit there and you're upset that you've lost out. So I like the fact that we are at least seeing that sort of counterplay come through here from A's, and maybe that Hextech Drake will be enough to bring them back a little bit in their solo lanes. Because right now, Miru having his way with Alone, kind of like the entire series.
It's been a little bit one-sided. Miru has had those big pop-off plays, now is pulling out the Silas. A little bit of a, hey, I can do it better than you did, and so far has not particularly found any success, but the Silas will be looking for those team fights for the minute. Currently has that Realm Warp. Would be interesting to see if this is going to be used for any big plays top or bottom side, but because the objectives have gone down and the next Drake doesn't spawn for another 4 minutes, not any big opportunities to use it currently.
Yeah, instead they're just going to try and pop in the bot lane, at least that way they can get it, because you've only got about 30 seconds until those plates go down, so you really need to at least get the money. However, a little bit of zoning there, meaning that I thought that Kundus wouldn't get the plates, did end up getting them anyway, as you engaged now in the mid lane. The Realm Warp is popped for Miru to join the fray, and absolutely will do. Alone just gets popped, potentially left alone by Dimitri there, so a bit unfortunate, but good usage of the Realm Warp.
lovely usage of the realm warp. We were not sure where that was going to be pulled right there into the river, and this is going to be fantastic pressure right now as unfortunately Dimitri also going to have to run away, and this mid lane pressure is going to result in no turret plates but a lot of pressure up onto this mid lane turret, threatening to crack it, and you can force the teleport out of the rise again if you want to. There we go. Has to be blown.
Also, what's worth noting in that one is that because Shadow went to try and make that play on Dimitri, who war-topped away, there was an engage with the Glacial Fissure there in the bot side from Straight, which forced Kindness's flash. So there's now no flash on the on this Aphelios. I believe had to heal a moment ago through the spellbook from Shadow, so there's no spellbook heal there either. They're actually a little bit vulnerable to this gank, so I like the fact Dimitri is showing up, and look at the map, Alone's moving.
This could well be a big dive. Here we go, Realm coming in.
Yeah, but he's got it on his own. Alone is just going to absolutely get blown up. Oh, Moonlight Vigil doesn't quite find it, but the ram is going to be called. It's not enough, but finds onto Dimitri. It might be a second. Miro over the wall. It's just waiting hands of the Silas. He'll happily munch away on the blind monk. Takes his kick and kicks him in the teeth for that one. That was horrible, teammates.
That was 2 quick kills for Estral Esports off the back of a Team A's engage. We wanted them to be more proactive, but perhaps not in that way. The Realm Warp just at the wrong moment. Hopefully we'll see a replay of what went down because, oh boy, another kill gonna go over to the side of Estral right here.
Oh, the turnaround. They might be able to find one instead. It's Lonely with a fantastic cast. The outplay from the Gragas ends up finding Kindless, but it looked strange, but I guess it was effective.
Indeed, goes down a little bit too aggressive right there out of Estral. Both of these teams currently pulling the trigger in situations where perhaps they didn't want to, and we do see a replay. What you're going to see is Shadow with a just beautiful hostile takeover right here. The Realm Walker is going to come down right behind the turret, which is a very aggressive position to go into. Boogie is here as well, and instantly that hostile takeover comes through, lands onto 3 different members. Everybody's beating themselves up, and then you're just having to turn tail and run. Ram comes through, picks up one, and then flashing over the wall into the waiting hands of that Silas. Just lovely plays right here out of Estral. If they hadn't have lost that kill down in the bottom side, it would have been almost ideal.
Yeah, they do end up losing that one though, so at least there is some turnaround here. And if we take a quick look at the items, you'll see the side of Estral, they are pretty much ahead across the board, but in that bottom side, there is still 5 Kid. There is still that Zeal now being picked up for the Jinx. Maybe going to build into the Rapid Fire, maybe the Hurricane, maybe the PD. Either way, starting to come online, and Jinx on 2 to 3 items is relevant.
It'll be strong. Having to go with that Gale Force, can't go with the Kraken, has to be safe, especially with all of the CC and the setup on the side of Estral. As you can see now, all of the lanes have been moved around a little bit. For the minute, only 1 turret has gone down, and that required a Rift Herald. Not a lot of push currently, a lot of wave clear on both teams.
Yeah, definitely a lot of wave clear available, especially for when that Baron falls later on down too. But for right now, a little bit earlier.
It just spawned.
They did it. They actually
oh my God.
took a dragon within like 20 minutes. They took 2. Oh, Estral. This is why they're the top team in the league, but in the top side, Miro are going to be showing the negative sides of Estral gaming.
Unfortunately, way too many members down towards the bottom side to pick up that Drake, so a worthwhile cause, but it means that you needed to back off a little bit if your Miro doesn't and does end up going down, but that's still mid lane pressure. Another Drake picked up. All of a sudden, you're in a very nice spot if you're Estral, able to just continue pushing forward. You've stopped any potential Drake stacking the Ace may well have had, and now you can come up onto this Rift Herald to use it to crack another turret. As we've said, turret pressure has not been immense currently, but with picking up another one for yourself down in the bottom lane, now a Herald to crack that top lane one if you want to, or perhaps a tier 2 in the mid lane if that's the players. Teleport coming through, aggression right here.
Oh, but as they unable to find that second part there, was always able to at least connect with the Ram. So I might have to say, at least this time around, it wasn't very poggerific. Was lacking in that one, as a wise man once said.
Of course.
I hate Twitch chat so much. However, What I don't hate is the Estral situation, right? They're going to get themselves that recall. They do have that Herald. I would like to see them pop that one down when the next dragon spawns. Maybe then they can try and look for a third within 25 minutes.
It's a 3k gold lead right now, more like 2k perhaps for Estral. So they've not pulled ahead in this game like they have done in the previous games. And you can tell right now the Team Ace are fighting for their lives. They do not want to be knocked down to lower bracket. They want to continue fighting. They don't want to be taken out 3-0 versus the team they beat 3-2 in the finals last time around. They want to prove that they are the better org. These two teams are pretty new even to the LLA. They are building themselves up a bit of a legacy for themselves and a good rivalry right here. And it's not particularly good for tense rivalry when Estral just gets to walk through Team Ace as they have done in the first two games. So I'm enjoying the fight back that Team Ace is showing.
You know what the biggest problem here for Team Ace is?
What?
Aze has just hit level 13 on that one.
Yep.
Just now starting to get those ornaments come through. That is ornament number 1. The Frostfire has been converted. It's been upgraded. It has been perfected for the Orn. However, we might see more perfection in the mid lane as...
Oh,
well, Kindness is just better.
nice dodge right there out of that shockwave. And now it might be a little bit of a catch right here for Estral.
Yeah, re-engage. Kindness has no flash. Is now being 1v1 here by Dimitri. Does end up falling underneath the tower. But the re-engage, the hostile takeover, only going to find one. Boogie trying to spin to win and is able to find at least the one turnaround. So 1-for-1 so far. 2-man knock up there coming through. Mars. They might be able to find everything they need as Lonely is all alone. Mr. Lonely is exactly the name and nature of this fight. 2-for-1 for Estral.
It was a nice play right there. Unfortunately, on the back line, poor Kindless was chased around, beaten up, taken down, but still 2 kills. Teleport onto this mid lane turret. I think this will go through, but this is a death right here. Gets taken down.
TP sounding like it stands for terrible predicament there. 4 alone. Ends up just getting absolutely turbo nuked there in that one as the Herald maybe going to get the work, but unfortunately Sandra not able to find themselves that mid inhibitor.
Not a particularly nice play right there, unfortunately, as Alone going to get taken down, as does that tier 2 turret, and all of a sudden the gold lead that was pretty even, about 2k just a few minutes ago, has ballooned to 5k. We're going to get objective bounties coming up pretty soon, as well as just lovely collapse out of what was an originally aggressive Team Ace play.
Yeah, it definitely nice to at least see this side of Team Ace, but unfortunately, if you walk up too far, you're going to get punished. And Boogie going to pick up one into straight. Oh, Aze going to find a second one here onto 5kid, and it's just a bit too easy. There's no vision.
Pings in the base.
Yeah, they're going to be looking to take themselves that inhibitor now towards the mid lane. It's a 5 versus 3. I wonder if they're going to try and end this one. I don't think they can, but it'll be interesting to see.
But you can peel back onto either the Baron or the spawning dragon. I mean, who am I kidding? It's not going to be the dragon. So peel back onto the Baron it is. And you definitely are in a strong spot to attempt to take this. All of your members are doing well for themselves. 9-0-2 on the Wukong. I am not the biggest fan of the Wukong, but in this situation, going to be able to bonk anybody to death that he wants to. Doesn't even have that upgraded Divine Sundra that he will have access to pretty soon from the Orn, and now begin pressurizing down in the mid lane. So we see just an out of position Braum gets spotted out, and this is a pretty easy kill. You can see the Braum is pretty tanky, but it's on the back line where all of a sudden the Orncorn comes through, gets another knock up, and that's one dead Jinx. Now your bot lane is dead, and you're just gonna have to concede your inhibitor.
Concede your inhibitor and concede even more time for Estral. They'll secure themselves their second Drake of the game, as well as another 5 minutes on that Elder timer if anything sort of turns around for Team Ace. But combine that with the fact that ornament number 2 now going to come online as we're at level 14 for Aze, and it feels like the game might be slipping away for Team Ace.
Just a little bit. They are certainly not out of this. Jinx will continue to stale. Rise also has great scaling, and you saw during that previous big team fight how long it took for them to take out Lonely. Just was able to absorb all of the damage that was being thrown in their face. And so there's definitely avenues right now, but you're going to need a fantastic explosive cask out of that Gragas. You're going to need a great insect kick to maybe split up the backline. You've seen that Kindless gets taken out, but it didn't really matter. Need to find a more priority target, either Miru or a shutdown onto Boogie is what is needed for Team Ace to get back into this game.
Oh, but they might go for something entirely different. The
Oh!
Runlock into the backline. They're going to one-shot Kindless. But the fellow survives. They mess
Oh!
up the damage. He's still alive. Miro buying time
Dimitri?
with the stopwatch. Might be able to stall it out. Dimitri limping away. No one is dying, but finally Miro falls. Finally, the Silas goes down. Finally, Boogie finds a trade. Both mid laners going down. The top
Boogie?
lane going to be the trade back, though. Boogie
Oh!
doing so much work. Finally falls in the backside, but look at the health bars. They're blinking harder than a Pokemon game. It's falling real fast as Ace. Then maybe they can walk away with this one, but 3 end up falling down. Somehow the Estral jungler just 1v9s the fight.
Was surrounded by 3 members, incredibly strong members as well, and it didn't matter. Boogie was more than happy to continue to dance around that fight as just lovely right there, able to just continue going as...
Dimitri.
Oh no.
Trying to find onto Kindless, maybe gets to turn around, but remember the bailout is still up. Even if you kill, you don't actually kill, and that felt like a little bit of frustration, a little bit of anxiety setting in about the game state.
That's a desperation play. As right here, okay, everybody's watching the big amount of damage coming down all of a sudden onto Kindness, taking a ton. Instead, focus your eyes down towards the bottom side of this fight. Unfortunate for Boogie that they don't manage to take out the Lee Sin. It's what eventually leads to their death, the first of the game, but still surrounded by 3 members who are dealing a ton of damage to them. A Braum as well, so they're constantly being stunned up, shielded up, and yet still managing to pick themselves up 1 kill from this fight, and then leaving the other 2 members who are attempting to take them down just bleeding and battered and having to turn tail and run.
And we're seeing why Boogie is up there as one of those first place, second place junglers here. Maybe you can make the argument that there's one other jungler who might be a little bit better. But even then, Boogie has been popping off in this one, has looked fantastic, has looked incredible. And I think it's a real testament to the play here of Estral as a team. You know, they play through this jungle, and Miro went down early, but the damage grasp was actually quite impressive here overall. You know, my question is whether or not we will end up seeing Boogie sort of rise up to the level of Oddie regionally, but Estral, they're pushing for more, they're looking for a bit more, and Boogie does not care about anything 11-1.
You've got to bully the opposition off of this top lane turret. Gonna manage to do so. Now you can take it out and see if you find the engage.
Miru, 3-man Everfrost engage from a Silas combined with Boogie. They're not going to get too much more. It looked fancy, but that was pretty scary, wasn't it?
That was a little bit risky as this fight continues on.
Yeah, it's breaking out. Nice block there from the Braum to interrupt the Ram Ranch, but not going to find anything else as Dimitri gets a trade. It's a 1-for-1 so far, but Straight likely going to fall too. We're getting hit with a bit of a chrono shift. The game is stalling out. We'll get back to live very soon as I feel like Straight is going to fall pretty quickly. Lonely maybe can look to find something here off on the side, but with time pausing, it's like a JoJo film. I can't wait to see how it's going to end, but I feel like the stronger man is going to punch the other to death. Muda, Aura, Lonely going to fall. Here comes Boogie, and it ain't going to be too much longer as Kindless does get hit with the Sonic Wave. The Resonating Strike is going to come through, but the death will. It's going to be 3 quick kills here for Estral.
And this can well be the end if Estral wants to find it. Gonna have to take out another inhibitor. Delay this game a little bit. This may well allow Team A's one more team fight to try get back into this game. Finally going to take down this inhibitor. There is a Drake spawning up in less than a minute's time. Estral can peel back, pick that one up for themselves if they want it. If they don't, as they clearly haven't for most of this series, can just leave it behind. And one more big fight, probably around the Baron, in order for Team A's to find their way back into the series. They have got to win this. They lose this one, they lose the series down into the losers bracket. Gonna have to fight back against Infinity, who also showed themselves to be a pretty strong team yesterday. So what a fall from grace for last split's victors from an MSI representative, from a team who took a game off of Destination Focus Me at MSI.
Yeah, the biggest issue for them, though, isn't any of that right now. It's about surviving in this match, and with a 7k deficit now, and the ornaments helping to make that even larger, I don't know where that sort of angle comes from Team A's. They've tried the Realm Warps. They've looked okay, but it hasn't been enough.
And they need to find that championship form. They have it somewhere inside of them, but for the minute, everything is getting repelled right now. Only 1 kill onto Boogie in response to all of those kills. 13, 1, and 3. This is an incredibly strong champion right now. to be very careful of Boogie into the backline. But if you are showing that respect, all of a sudden you can't get at those squishy but long range carries such as the Aphelios, who's been sat in the backline and has had a pretty bad time of it with people jumping on top of him. But it just doesn't matter when the other members are so strong on Estral.
Yeah, definitely a problem. And when we're talking about problems and strong members, it's got to be Boogie, right? You have to find this shutdown onto the Wukong. But I'm going to give you a bit of a pointer here in the future because I don't need a stopwatch to tell the time, but Boogie has got himself a stopwatch to survive. And with that combined with a Death Stance and likely a GA on the way, it's hard to catch the Wukong. And with the Baron started up, you have to feel like it might be time for Ace to pull the trigger.
Could see over the wall just going for the engage. It was a bait in order to get some more kills.
Yeah, straight gonna just get baited in, absolutely get blown up as Dimitri. Not gonna find much. The coaching staff looking real happy here for Estral. Maybe Miru can find a bit more, but I think the game is gonna fizzle out. Might be time to go back to Baron.
You can keep running this scam again and again and again. Start up the Baron. The enemy has to respond. You turn, you kill them, you go back to Baron until there are no members left, or you get the Baron and they decide they can't actually get involved. Lee Sin's pretty good at getting to the pit, so you need to be careful right here. But right now, you can see AZ just playing Gatekeeper.
Aze doesn't care. He solo kills Dimitri pretty soon, I think. Miru gonna jump in. There is the Call of the Forge God. It doesn't find anyone, and Dimitri tries to jump in, doesn't realize the Baron's already fallen, and he's going to get blown up by Miru. It is going to be at least a couple more falling too. Alone went down trying to enter the pit and just got nuked, unfortunately. Miru looking for a bit more. Dragon's Rage available. Might look for it. Tries to kick onto
Gets the
5
kit.
Kid. Doesn't find it. It's going to unfortunately be no more, but Lonely is going to fall very, very soon. 5 Kid doesn't have the damage to dish back. It's a case of walk away while you can. Keep your lives if you can, but unfortunately, no one able to do that. It's going to be a free pickup for Boogie. It's 5 Kid and Straight versus the world. The bot lane is trying to stand up, but you feel like they're going to fall. It's going to be a Fisher to break them apart, break the game. Earthquake falling Straight is going straight to the fountain, straight to the loser's bracket as here comes Estral. They're putting a stamp on this game with a 3-0.
That was a fantastic series from start to finish out of Estral, just running through the opposition. Team Ace couldn't find a footing in this game whatsoever. The whole way through, you can see the excitement on the faces of the players. Estral, just lovely play, exciting play out of this team, and they are going to go on in the upper bracket. They are looking for revenge, found it against the team that knocked them out of playoffs last time around, and looking to claim the title for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely looking to take the title back for themselves in this one. They are ready. They are strong. They are dominant. There's a reason why these guys came in as the #1 seed. They looked clinical in this one.
They did. Everything worked so very well for this team. Miru was fantastic, always going in for that big flashy play, almost always finding it to a success. Boogie, man, was all across the map, constantly engaging on 3 different champions as well, showing up, showing off, as well as Shadow, who I'd say would be my MVP right now for Estral Esports, was constantly across the map, able to find those little plays where, having that extra bit of support around allowed those victories to come through. It was a beautiful play all across. Even Kindless, who had a little bit of a sad series in that they played 2 games of Severe and just, tried to do their best, were alt bot a little bit. And then a game on Aphelios where they kept getting jumped on, only died twice in that situation as well, though, absorbed all of that pressure and gave room for the team to come through and find that victory.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will go to a quick break before we break down this game, but that was strong from
Yeah.
Estral. I am impressed, and I am looking forward to seeing what they do moving forward throughout the rest of the competition. We will be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the after show, shall we call it? The 3-0 ending has brought an end not only to this series but also to Team Ace's higher bracket run and Estral. They look strong. They look like a team ready to compete for that world spot. And I am obviously joined again by the lovely Black Boxer. I am curious about what you have to say about this match, sort of as a whole, on what it means for these two teams.
As a whole, it shows that Estral are here to play. We knew that they were. They came into today having gone 11-3 during the regular season. So we knew that they were strong. They were miles above that sort of fist fight down beneath them where loads of teams were sat at 8-6, including Team Ace, as well as a couple of others that we've seen previously as well. Infinity, we'll talk a little bit more about them later. And so we knew that they were strong, we knew that they were good, but we also knew that they had history with Team Ace. Last time around in the finals, ended up losing to Team Ace 3-2, lost out on that spot that would have sent them to MSI, and now they are here for revenge. And it was just clean all around. The only issue I have with this team really is an issue I have with the region as a whole. They don't like to go for their objectives, but in terms of just their map play, they were constantly having more members to every single fight. Especially Shadow was roaming around the map, constantly getting involved, and the solo lanes were good enough that you were able to see this just fantastic play from everyone. I like the structure of this team: a roaming support, an AD carry who's happy to just sit back and relax, and then your top is able to just sit on a tank mid jungle. We're going to get involved, we're going to fight. It's the kind of perfect composition. It's the way that you want to play, really, and you see, it was just fantastic here.
The only thing I worry about for this team internationally is they are faster than the teams in this region,
Mm.
but this region doesn't seem like a fast region. I wonder if their fast might be another team's slow. So
Yes.
I am worried going into Worlds very soon about how the LLA will end up performing. But at least as far as things in this region are going, Estral, they're looking clean, they're looking clinical. But that's enough, I think, about Estral themselves, right? I do think, though, individually, there is an important thing for us to decide, and that is a series MVP.
Yeah.
Because obviously, both these teams they played their best, but certain players always play better than others, and I'm curious as to what you would go with as your final MVP.
I am going to stick with Shadow as my final MVP. I think it was just a fantastic play all around. The Nautilus performance was the most flashy, hitting those hooks. I mean, I know Nautilus hook is a little bit difficult to miss occasionally, but it was perfect. The polymorphs on point as well, and then just constantly up in the face of the opposition in this last game too. Beautiful play across the board and really an enabler of the rest of the squad. Didn't have the flashy kill lines, but died so very rarely, was always in the right spot. Shadow is my MVP. Who would you say?
So I'm caught between a couple, right? Because I think Miru had a really good series, but there were a lot of errors
Mm.
that came into play too. Like very high highs, but also arguably the lowest lows of the team too. So I think it can't be. I was interested in the main broadcast. They went with Boogie as
Mm.
their MVP as well, who obviously had a fantastic Wukong game. Game two was a little bit lackluster for me, though. I think that it's going to be Shadow or Boogie. I think it's a toss up between the two. I think Shadow was consistently good, but the high highs weren't as high as Boogie or Miru. So it's but way less errors too. So
Yeah.
I think the Shadow is probably the most consistent player if I was going to go sort of as a player to go with. But with this series being done, there is now obviously, unfortunately, moving away from Team Estral to Team Ace. They are going to have to fall into that lower bracket. And my first question, and arguably the hardest question I'm going to ask you the whole time, is
Mhm.
Estral versus Infinity. Who's winning?
Infinity played really well during their previous series versus All Knights, but All Knights were not a particularly strong team. They were only just about able to scrape their way into playoffs, got knocked out 3-0, and now you've got a team who went 3-0 in the previous game, versus a team who's gone 0-3 in another series. The momentum is certainly on the side of Infinity. I do just worry though, because Infinity had some really interesting plays, especially around their top side. Yoni was fantastic, able to get a lot of good engages off on the Gnar, and I think that Yoni versus Lonely would be a really interesting matchup, possibly even more Yoni favored than the AZ versus Lonely matchup was. And so that top side may begin to swing, and then all of a sudden, Infinity could find their way into this game. But I think it will be very close. I mean, we expected today's matchup to be close, but these teams seem to match up pretty well with a few big divides, that top lane specifically, but then the bot side was a lot weaker over on the side of Infinity. That's where they started losing during the previous games. And so, all of a sudden, you're in a spot where, hey, your top side's winning, your bot side's losing, then it's up to the junglers. And Dimitri, not an inactive jungler. Whereas, on the side of Infinity, Solid Snake didn't constantly get involved in these plays. And so it might be the opportunity Dimitri needs versus someone a little bit less proactive than he is to really get up in the faces of the opposition, as he was doing on that final Lee Sin game.
I definitely think it's a really interesting series, because I feel like, as you say, I think Dimitri had a really strong series, but I also think that Alone struggled. And
Yeah.
looking at that sort of switch up, Solid Snake wasn't amazing for Infinity, but Cody was. Cody
Yeah.
looked really good. And I wonder, when we look at how the other players, match up, Snaker maybe a bit more proactive than Five Kid. I'd
Mm.
say Straight is probably better than Ackerman though. So again, kind of matches up. And
Yeah.
then Johnny and Lonely, I would say both arguably not showing the most. I think Lonely had a rough series here, and I think Johnny wasn't the most active either in the wins, which was pretty okay. So it's a weird one where the dynamics of the teams are going to be very mixed up.
Yeah.
However, I'm still going to ask you to pick one. I'm going to ask you to give me a prediction on the actual scoreline too. You're not getting out of this. This is the final decision.
I predict in a 3-2, so a very close series, that
Mm-hmm.
Infinity is going to beat Team Ace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final
I
answer.
think they have the momentum on their side, and I think Team Ace have really been beaten down. You've been shown a lot of good ways to beat Team Ace by Estral, whereas if you're looking back at the tape versus All Knights, you only saw a couple of good places where All Knights found something versus Infinity. I think the momentum's on their side. I think they're going to take the series.
Okay, that's a 3-2 for Infinity, and because of the sake that I want some different predictions, I'm going to go 3-2 the other way. It's definitely going to be a close series. I
Yeah.
will agree with that. I would say that I think Cody probably does outperform Alone. However, I think that with the way that Snaker played in the AD carry position, I think there's strength there. I think though that there is a lot of nuance, as I say, between both these rosters. So I think that you can understand an Infinity prediction, but I think that with Dimitri, I think that with Straight, uh, I think it's very hard to go against these guys. So I believe in Team Ace. I think that there is a chance here that the 5 Kid Straight combo could be enough, and I think that Dimitri will pop off into Solid Snake like he has in this series to an extent. But that is the end of the predictions. So I think that's pretty much everything we've covered. So
Yeah.
as per usual, is there anything you would like to say to our audience, and also any socials you would like to plug?
My Twitter is at BlackBloxers, same as what is said beneath me, just with an at. And thank you all so much for watching. This is really good fun. I'm enjoying having a region to root for. And come on, LLA, let's win worlds, eh?
Yeah, all I'm going to say is, come on, LLA, please don't get bodied. I don't think that we'll
Beat the
be.
LJL. Come
Yeah,
on, you can
I
do
would
it.
love to see that. Honestly, the bragging rights we would get over
Oh
that
yeah,
entire group would be amazing. It's going to be really hard. I think DFM are actually really strong, and I
yeah,
think that so is Sengoku right now. I've also been talking with the VCS guys, and they are quietly confident, I would say,
yes,
about Saigon Buffalo, I believe it was. I haven't been following it, but I believe it's Saigon Buffalo. So they've been saying some things. I remember hearing. So fun fact, I was talking to Milky, and he might have said that he thinks that the VCS will get to semifinals this split at Worlds. I think
that's
that
bold.
is absolutely wrong, but we will see. If he gets that right, credit to him. This is the record. If he's right, he's a god. But I don't. I'm not a believer just yet. However, the LLA, putting up decent numbers here is possible. I just think that the tempo is an issue and needs to be something they step up, like DFM did at MSI. However, I think that's everything. So, my name is Recollect. I'm still here running this little side project, and I've been joined by the wonderful Boxer, who thank you for stopping by. It was always a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys will have a much more skilled play-by-play appearing in the next one. We got some people planned for that one, so we will have to LLA love you and leave you. Goodbye for now, guys. We'll see you very, very soon.